2018. If you remember the mass murder that happened in Guma local government under when Otom was governor, there was a mass burial of about 78 people that were killed in my local government of Guma. We called it genocide at that time. On the official program, it was written genocide. If you go to where they were buried today on in Makurdi, Welfare Quarters Road, Welfare Quarters Mobile Police Road, the signboard is there. Burial of the victim of Fulani genocide. So Nigerian government has not been acting. We're calling it exactly what it is. So since they've not acted, we called on a senior brother. Look, we've not been protected by these people, by our own government. And let me finally, before I conclude this this chapter, let me tell you, unfortunately, the people killed in Yerwata, 90% of them voted for APC. They voted for the government to defend them on their own part. They fulfilled their social contract responsibility by coming to exhibit their civil duty and voted for this particular government. My cousin, Nsuteze, was the agent of APC in the last election.
All right, we need to wind down. So could you tell us, you've also had that narrative that it's there, which was attributed to Biafra separatists who are, quote unquote, the ones championing this cause, and so government needed to also get the right narratives out there so people don't get the wrong impression about what's going on.
Chambale, you see, that is the power of propaganda. You're in the media, so you know what propaganda is. That is the power of propaganda. The designation of Nigeria as a CPC had nothing, absolutely nothing to do with Biafra. Absolutely nothing. We, the victims, we're the ones in the forefront, the main victims of the genocide in Nigeria. Before now, you knew when my Lord Bishop Anabi of the Catholic Diocese of Makurdi came to the U.S., addressed the U.S. Congress in March of last year. That was even long before Yerwata happened. In March last year, and asked for the designation of Nigeria as a CPC. When Yerwata happened, I was invited to Washington, D.C. I spoke at the iconic National Press Club, located just 2 blocks away from the White House. I addressed American Congress and American press, and I called for the designation of Nigeria as a CPC because I'm a victim. My community is placed on the edge of a precipice. Is at the point of being obliterated completely. So we called for this protection. After July, I've addressed the American Congress twice again in December last year and in January this year. Last week I was in Washington. Last week Wednesday, I addressed the American Congress. After that, I met people, congressmen who were invited to Nigeria recently, like Congressman Bill Heisinger from Michigan. He was invited to Nigeria. I think he was hosted by Tony Elumelu in December and was hosted by the government. We tried to disabuse his mind. Look, these guys are just trying to hide the narrative.
All right,
the truth of what is happening. So it is we, the victims, and not Biafra. So anytime they call Biafra, and let me tell you something. Just a moment.
Unfortunately, we're completely out of time, but it's something that, of course, it doesn't just end here. It's an ongoing concern, and we'll also find time to revisit the matter as it were. So we do thank you for talking to us this morning, Franc Utoo, a lawyer and a native of Yerwata. Thank you for your time. And is it good night or good morning now because you need to get back to sleep too?
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this special conversation. My name is Rudolph Okonkwo. We are taking the first part of what usually is Have Your Say 247 to have a special conversation with lawyer and activist Franc Utoo. Most of you have seen him. He has been out for many years, raising the alarm about what's going on in the Middle Belt of Nigeria and all across northern Nigeria, the genocide against Christians. And this month, he was in Congress and he addressed them about the issue. And we've had a lot of narratives going out there, and you guys have heard about New York Times reports blaming it essentially on a screwdriver salesman somewhere in Onitsha. You've also heard about accusation that this whole thing was started by the Biafrans and their activism in Washington, D.C. Now we're bringing you someone who is been at the back of this conversation. He's a victim. He's from Benue State. So join me as we welcome to the show Mr. Franc Utoo. Mr. Franc, welcome to the show. You are muted. Can you unmute yourself, please? I'll do that. I'll do that. Let me see. I did it.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much. How have you been?
Very well, thank you. How about you?
Very good, very good. I know that you are in Oklahoma, in the United States. Okay, so you are far away from Nigeria, where it's happening. How do you...
I'm far geographically, but I'm close. I'm very close at heart, you know.
Yeah. So how do you, especially Benue State, and what's going on? I was in Benue State last year in June. People were on the edge. Everybody you see, every day they wake up, they feel lucky that they were up. Every day they go to sleep, they feel that they are not sure what will happen at night. So how are you coping, staying far away from the scene?
Well, first and foremost, I don't think I'm coping well, because the place we're talking about is my state, my community, and then my own people. I have immediate family members there. I have extended family there. I have friends and neighbors. But most importantly, that's my ancestral land. So as long as my ancestral land is under siege, I can never be comfortable.
Mm-hmm. So let's start with the latest. We woke up, I think last week, and we heard that bandits, they call them bandits now, went to churches in Kaduna and killed some people, kidnapped over 160 people. Do you monitor such events? When you hear about such incidents, what does that do to you? What do you feel? How do you take the news?
Well, it is a sad thing, and it's been part of our lives, especially we in the middle belt of Nigeria. It is not something that is strange to us. It is something that has happened every day. Every day, as we speak today, there are people being killed in some parts of Benue and some parts of Plateau. It happens every day. And of course, this is in furtherance of the jihad. You know, so you have Islamist terrorist groups who operate under different names. Some are called Boko Haram. They are major stations in the northeast part of Nigeria. Some are the ISWAP, that's Islamic State West African Province. These are scattered across northeast part of Nigeria and northwest part of Nigeria, middle belt of Nigeria. Then you have the Ansaru and the Lakurawa. And the most dangerous, the most evilish, the most vicious of them all, the Fulani ethnic militia. So, sometimes when you say bandit, it's quite a mischaracterization, you know. It's a euphemism of calling these terrorist organizations. So whatever is being perpetrated in the southern Kaduna axis is always perpetrated by the Fulani ethnic militia, a terrorist organization that is so vicious and so intent on wiping the Christian communities and occupying their land and exuding dominance. So that's exactly what's happening.
For those who got to hear about these incidents of recent, can you give us, go back into history? When did this start?
Well, if we want to go back to history, then it has to be about 200 years ago, you know, the Ottoman Dafodio Jihad, when the man burst out of Fouta Djallon in Guinea, came to the Hausa territories, wiped out the Hausa territories, took over the territories of Hausa people who were actually practicing Islam. So you see, you could see that the jihad was has a different motive, because they were doing it in the name of spreading Islam. But the Hausa communities that were taken over that time in the 19th century, early 19th century, starting from 1804 in Gobir, were already practicing Islam. So, but these guys brought a different kind of Islam, a very radical form of Islam, you know, and fought the jihad to be able to install that kind of ideology. And then they went all the way to Kwara, took over Ilorin, which, as you know, all know, was up to this moment is Yoruba territory. And they came to Middle Belt. That is where they felt. They fell to the Christians in Plateau, the Birom, the Angars. They couldn't penetrate them, and they met the Waterloo in Benue State in the hands of the Tea people. So I think they are carrying out that vendetta, that the fact that we were able to stop their progression to the southern part of Nigeria. So they really want to continue from where they stopped. So that is the genesis of this whole thing, you know. And at the point of independence, you know, the Sardauna of Sokoto, the premier of northern Nigeria at that point, Sir Ahmadu Bello, was attributed to have said that this entity called Nigeria is the inheritance of their forebears. That's the inheritance given to them right from the time of Odman Danfodio. And so they will have to take charge of it, and they must strive as much as possible to dip the Quran in the Atlantic Ocean. So you could see the timelines. And then going up to the mid-1980s, when General Babangida registered Nigeria as a member of the Organization of Islamic Countries, or Corporation, OIC. We are a secular state, you know, but you could see that they took us into an OIC. And then by gradual process again in 1999, October 1999, when the civilian administration in Nigeria was barely 4 to 5 months old, in 1999, Sani Yerima, the governor of Zamfara, introduced Sharia in a secular country like Nigeria, which the constitution in section 10 outrightly prohibits the adoption of any religion as a state religion, you know. But those guys violated this aspect of the constitution and adopted Sharia. And so Nigeria now begins to have a parallel legal system. One is the secular and one is the Islamic law. So you could see that was how this. So, but the violent aspect of it started around 13, 14 years ago. Because you could see, I started by giving you the background and how they've been using state policy to gradually come in, you know. So, but of course, before you overwhelm a people, especially in modern times, like this, state policy alone cannot work. So you have to adopt hit and run, you know, sort of, so that instill fears. You know, that's how terrorists operate all over the world. What they do is they try to instill fears, and then the people will leave their territory and move backwards, and then they occupy. So that's what they've been doing. That's exactly what happened in Turkey. I think they are executing the Turkey model, when Turkey, as an overwhelmingly Christian state in those years, when it was known as Anatolia, these guys were hitting, and then that's how the religion is becoming steadily erased. And at the end of the day, it has become totally erased, to the extent that today, Turkey, which was overwhelmingly a Christian country, is the Christian population in Turkey currently is less than 1%. So that was the same modalities they took. And so they came to our land they're using the pretexts of farmer headers crisis, like they're clashing with farmers. But for goodness sake, that is our land. That's all. So it's not like these guys have a separate community that is next to us and we're clashing with this community. That is what amounts to communal clash. When you have a community that is sitting next to us, and then so you can't just invade our land at any time and then start killing people, and then you call it communal clashes, farmer header crisis. That was how it started. But by 2013 and 2014, they brought these guys in their thousands all across the Sahel. Fulani ethnic militia, the most dangerous of these Fulani fighters. They brought them as a build-up to the election of 2015. You know, this is quite a popular fact, a fact that has already been well adumbrated by even the guys in APC, the guys who were part of it. You know, they were able to reveal this truth. But some of us knew when these things were happening because my community borders Nasarawa State. Yeah, my community borders Nasarawa State. And so we were seeing these foreign fighters because at every point, these guys speak French rather than English. And that was when they started killing many of the chief people in Nasarawa State. And then the then governor of Nasarawa State, Al-Makura, who was the only CPC governor in Nigeria at that point, was calling them foreign hunters. But they brought them and placed them in Nasarawa, the forest of especially Nasarawa South, to prepare them ahead of the election in 2015. They saturated this forest of southern Kaduna, southern Katsina with these guys. So that was the beginning of this whole thing. Many of those guys came from Niger, from Chad, from Central African Republic, the Fulani in Guinea, in Mali, and they brought them to Nigeria. And right now, these guys have been given every form of ID to make them Nigerians. So that is the height of the whole thing. You know, it's reached its crescendo at this point, that they've saturated our forest, and in order to take over, they have to be doing exactly what they are doing right now, to be killing, and then people will be moving to the IDP camps, and they'll be occupying, then they'll be killing. That is just the story behind this.
So you mentioned IDP camps. How many of them are in Benue State? Do you know how many people are in those camps? And if you look at, if you have a drone satellite image of Benue, how will you say it has changed from 2014 to now?
Okay, from the official figures from the Benue State government itself, the people in the IDP camps are about 600,000, but I know that they are the excess of 1 million. You know, that's from the official figures by the government. They are carrying 600,000. You know, but they're in truth, they are excess of 1 million. The IDP camp, and again, you know, a man is an IDP when he doesn't stay in his own place. So there are a lot of people in the IDP camp, and there are many others who may not be in the IDP camp, but they've been dislodged from their communities, and so they are staying with relations or friends in other parts of the state. Like in my community of Yorota, many of our people, like even within my own family, within my own my father's nuclear family, there are some of my siblings in the IDP camp right now. And then some are with my younger brother, and some are in our own house in North Bank, part of Makoti. So you see, they are divided into three. So if you take the figures of just the people in the IDP camp and say this is the number of IDP, you may be wrong, because there are a lot of people who may not be in the IDP camp, but who are staying with relatives in the city, but are not staying in their own ancestral land where they were dislodged. So the number of IDP is in excess of 1 million.
So what happens when people leave their homes and their villages to go to IDP camps? What happens to those villages? They're vacant?
Yeah, there are a lot of the villages are left desolate, and many are been taken over by these guys. You know, like in my local government of Guma, and particularly my council ward of Niev, they've taken over many of these communities, because when you go there, you see them with even bring their wives and even their little children crawling in the compound of thief people just left those compound. They are in the IDP camp. You see a Fulani little kid crawling in the compound, using our kitchens, using our bathrooms. sleeping in our bedrooms, in a thief compound, going to the thief stream, the stream in our own communities, and then grazing freely. So that's one of the most perverted lifestyle I've ever seen. One of the grossest form of injustices that our people are in the IDP camp, and then these guys are in their land and grazing freely, and the government is watching, and nothing much is being done.
So it's unbelievable. You know, I've had these stories, and I'm happy that you are here as a victim, as someone from that area telling this story. But one of the things that I'm sure a lot of people are thinking about is you talked about the government and the government of Benue State. Most of your elected officials, they are from the ruling party. If they are not able to do anything about this situation, do you know why?
Okay, so it's quite very simple. We have a bunch of charlatans in leadership positions all across the state and the nation, starting from local government to state to this. You know, people who are not really committed to the service of the people and protection of the people, as encapsulated by the Constitution itself, which posits that as a primary role of government when it says in Section 14, Sub 2, Paragraph B, that that the security and welfare of the people is the primary purpose of government. That is why government exists in the first place. And so if you're in government, this should be your priority. The Constitution says it explicitly that the security and welfare, security and welfare of the people is the primary purpose of government. Now, many of our guys in government, what they've tried to do is just to be politically correct. That is what they prioritize. They only want their sustenance in government, just to be in government, but not to execute what the Constitution really says is the primary purpose of government, not to protect our people. Today in Nigeria, the people committing this genocide, their sponsors are in government, and our own leaders in Benue relate with them. These same Fulani sponsors, they relate with them. But rather, they see them as people, a necessary evil, in the sense that they need these people to succeed politically. And so because of that, many of these guys begin to pay allegiance to political correctness more than allegiance to the safety and protection of their people. So that is the main issue. We don't have people who are courageous to face these demagogues face to face without blinking. We have people who are rather subservient to the demagogues of the Fulani political class. So that is one of the biggest problems we have in Benue State.
You said in one interview that 70% of people you knew growing up, that they've died in this conflict. I don't know how I would feel if 70% of people I knew growing up died in a conflict. My guess is that I will be angry. Are you angry? Are people in Benue angry that this is happening? And are they helpless in trying to change that?
Okay, if you say I'm angry, I think that's quite an understatement, because our situation is heart-wrenching, it's devastating, because many of the guys, like I told you, many of the guys I knew while growing up, if I bring out any picture of mine in the village, anytime I go to the village, I'm always clustered by people, anytime I come in, because I don't live in the village. So anytime I go, like to visit my dad, my late dad, my relations, or the fact that, okay, that's my village. So I always like stopping by. Like when I was in government in Benue State between 2020 and 2023, I lived between Abuja and Makurdi. My family was in Abuja. I was in government in Benue State. So I do travel like almost twice a month. So in each of my journey, I always do stop over in my village, because my village is placed on the federal highway. It's placed on the federal highway, dot. So I always do stop over for like an hour in the village. So if you see my pictures up to today, where anytime I stop, guys, women, and all the do cluster around me. For every picture I pick, you see 1, 2, 3, 4 have been killed already by Fulanis. For every picture I pick, you must always figure out 1, 2, 3 in that picture that have already been killed. And to paint a clearer picture to you, on January 9th, 2023, I had a Thanksgiving in the Catholic Church there, St. Joseph Catholic Mission in Yerwata. And in that Thanksgiving, the Thanksgiving was my family Thanksgiving, then slash launching for the building of the Father's house. In that Thanksgiving, the person who read the first reading was killed in last June massacre, June 13, 2025. The person who took the second reading was killed. The person who took the responsorial psalm was killed. The choir mistress of that day was killed. 4 members of the choir that day were killed. The lady who served as the church steward, like usher, was killed. So I've tried to paint a clearer picture to you. Now, like I said in one of my interviews, when the killing of last year June was happening June 13, I got a lot of missed calls because I was sleeping. So I got a lot of missed calls. That's early in the morning when they were putting the numbers of people they were going all around the bushes and getting the casualties, you know. So when I first came to my Facebook, to my WhatsApp, the first thing, opening my WhatsApp, I saw statuses on WhatsApp. Yerwata massacre, 107 bodies recovered so far. Another status say 113 recovered so far. I was like, geez, my own village. What happened? I was in 100 and so. So the first thing was that I saw a lot of missed calls. So when I called one of the numbers, which of course I was sure that guy would give me every detail I want to know. So when I called the number, my cousin, as he picked, so I said, this is what I saw. He said, yeah, they are just still collecting some of the dead bodies right now as he's talking to me. He said, oh, they killed this guy. So when he said they killed this guy, I asked the next name. I asked for another person, they said they killed. I asked for another person, they said, so spontaneously, the first 8 names I asked were all killed. Just spontaneously, you are just calling names randomly. You understand? The first 8 names I asked after were all killed. So that is our situation. We've lived with it. I've been like some of these pictures flying. That's me in white there. That's me in white there. This is when my friend Peter Akra, that's me with him. That's the guy. He got married to his wife, and they waited for 4 years. 4 years before God blessed them with the fruit of the womb. And when God blessed them with the first child, within the next 2 years, they got twins. Then another 2 years later, they got another. So they got 4 children. But on that day, this Fulani jihadist came into our village. They shot his wife while she was preparing dinner, and the 4 children were clustered around the fireplace. They was preparing dinner, in the compound, open. That's how we do, open. And then they just came into the compound and shot the woman and shot the 4 little kids. You just show the grave of the little kids. Just very, very little kids, less than 10. These are the kids. So this guy is fighting with. Were they killed because of fighting the Fulani? That any other person would call them a pharmaceutical crisis or communal clashes. Look at the kids. So that is me in white. That's my leg there, in white. So this is something I've been part of. I've been in the midst of this. I've been like the poster boy of my village. I've been involved in this fight for far too long. And it's almost a weekly affair that you see killing. Like I do see everywhere. I say what made the attack of June last year very pronounced is because of that number, the number of people killed within a single night, 278 people. If not, we've always lived with it. If it were 20 people, 15 people, it couldn't have made the news. Because that's why we've lived with it. We've lived with it every time. 2 weeks before the massacre of June 13th, that's on May 28th, they came and killed my late father's closest friend, Ulam, and 3 of his children, and then 2 other neighbors. That's 5 people in a single night. So it's something it has been weaved into our life system. It has become like part of us, that we have to believe that our guys will be killed in the next 1 week or in the next 1 month. The only thing is that we don't know who will be killed, but we are very sure that people in our community will be killed.
Now, let's go back to your activism. I know you spoke in Washington, and that wasn't the first time you've been coming to Washington to interact with lawmakers and make them aware of what's going on where you were born. And I wanted to know, how was the reception? Are you confident that what is happening is that they have a good picture or idea of what is now going on in Nigeria?
Perfectly, absolutely. Because look, before my going to Washington, starting from June last year, that was my first appearance. June last year, I appeared at an iconic National Press Club where there were some congressmen, journalists, and non-profits and other organizations where I addressed them on that day. I realized a lot of people know exactly what is happening, because speaker after speaker, they were just saying it exactly the way it is, as if they were in our communities. And so our going to Washington, like, even if you listen to the congressional hearing that was widely publicized last November, congressman after congressman, when they talk, you know that they know the situation. And again, they have so many sources that they relied on, especially my organization today, Equipping the Persecuted and Truth Nigeria. They've been relying on this because Truth Nigeria is on ground in Nigeria, digging these facts, providing raw data and raw information, and even giving intelligence, providing intelligence about the killings. Like this Yerwata attack, Truth Nigeria provided the intelligence of the impending attack, like a week before it happened. And it happened at the end of the day. So they are quite receptive, the lawmakers, and they are quite committed to seeing that this genocide is tackled. And that is why you see the Nigerian government is doing everything possible, to assuage them by even hiring a DCI lobby group to take that challenge, So it is because of the heat that is coming from Washington. So I believe they are committed, and they will see that these things are tackled vividly.
You mentioned that efforts, the lobbying group. Do you know what the group is using the money to do?
Of course, it's propaganda. First and foremost, propaganda. And you can see the article from New York Times. You don't need a soothsayer to tell you that that's part of the propaganda, propaganda to give a counter narrative and then to assuage the minds of the people here, to change the narrative, to make it look as if it is a general insecurity happening in Nigeria. Everybody's being killed, nobody's particularly targeted. And then to be able to prepare a visit of Nigerian delegation constantly to come to Washington to meet policymakers, lobbying groups, congressmen, to be able to bring out a narrative that would dilute the truth of what is happening. So that is exactly what is currently going on.
In part of the stories we had, based on what the government said was the reason why they had to hire a lobbying firm, is that they felt that they called the Biafrans, and they said the Biafrans were the ones who were paying a lobbying group in Washington to tell the story of genocide against Christians, that it wasn't something happening. I saw you on channels TV trying to explain, but they cut you off. Can you explain again fully why did they pick on the Biafrans? Do you think the Biafrans had something to do with with that the understanding in Washington that there's a Christian genocide going on?
Okay, Rudolph, let me tell you something. You see, this particular narrative is one of the most nauseating, disgusting deflection of the truth of this story. You know, anytime I hear this, it gives me like, it makes me want to poke, sort of. So, because it goes for to establish the dishonesty in our government and the fact that they are really not sincere in tackling the issue. At no time were Biafrans involved principally in this, in what is happening, in the designation of Nigeria as a CPC because of the genocide going on in Nigeria. At no time. We, the victims, we are the ones in the forefront. We have a lot of victims of this genocide here in the United States. I am one of the principal victims. We have a lot of victims of this genocide from Plateau State who are here in the United States. We have Pastor John Haruna in Pennsylvania. We have the likes of Chuan Ruampang in California. We have many of these guys scattered all over the United States who have been writing to these guys and saying, look, this is what is happening to us. And the Congress was able to invite us. We made our story loud and clear. We provided evidence. We provided video evidence, pictorial evidence. We provided data. And they were convinced because they also have people on ground. And then there are also American non-profits like Equipping the Persecuted, like I mentioned. Truth Nigeria. Then the likes of Mike Arnold. The likes of ADF International. They have all these facts. So those were the people principally responsible for the Congress designated Nigeria, for the government designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern, and not anything that has to do with Biafra. Look, December 1st, 2025, that's last month, we're in Washington, D.C. for a very massive protest at the Congress. Coalition of Nigerians under the umbrella of Save Nigeria Group, led by Stephen Osewengi in Minnesota. Now, at that protest last month, December 1st, at Capitol Hill, two guys brought a banner of Biafra. We kindly turned these guys away, telling them that this has nothing to do with Biafra. So you could see that even we Nigerians have been turning people who front for Biafra in these particular instances of the Christian genocide. Because we don't want anything to do with Biafra at that point. As much as their grievances may be valid and genuine. But we don't want to mix the two together. Because it will give it a credibility problem. Because the two are different, completely different. And so finally, my brother, Biafra has nothing to do with that. It's just a propaganda. It's just a way of deflecting the truth.
What about this story about the Onisha trader, screwdriver salesman that was on New York Times 2 weeks ago? Did you read it, and what do you make of that? Because they're saying that the American government relied on the NGO that the man started for all their perspective on what's going on in Nigeria and the action that Trump took in December last year.
But you see, it's quite ridiculous. You know, when you read the whole story, you find it so preposterous, and it doesn't just make sense. You know, I read the article, and because they also mentioned my organization, Truth Nigeria, and Equipping the Persecuted, and mentioned my boss, Judge Saul, there, you know, in order to put some semblance of credibility to it. But the whole thing is just a hogwash, you know, it's complete balderdash. And the guy has come out to refute all this. The man himself, the man in the center of the article, the screwdriver seller. I watched his interview, I think some 2-3 days ago on Arise TV. I saw how he said they cornered him on something very different. They came to interview him. The lady from New York Times interviewed him on something different. The activities of his organization, they've been involved in collecting data on killings in Nigeria generally, And so he discussed with them on extremely different issues. And then they went to weave the story differently to even connect him to the bombing. That is not how foolish US is. You are in the US, and how can the US rely on a screwdriver seller or one person to go and does he live in Sokoto? The man say he has never even been to Sokoto. So they had to rely on somebody who is sitting in the east to go and bomb a location in there. So you could see that the article is meant to generate bad blood, between the Muslim core north and the Christians, to show that it's an Igbo guy in the east who caused the bombing of their community in Sokoto.
All right. We're going to invite people to join us to interact with you. They can ask questions, or they can also make their comment on what they feel. But before we do that, let me ask you that Trump on December 25th ordered an airstrike in Sokoto. Do you know if it was successful? And there are people now raising the questions like that after the bombing, more attacks happened. The bandits, so-called bandits, they are still moving around the country, attacking and kidnapping people. I talked about what happened in Kaduna last week, I believe. What is your take on that? Do you think that it helped? And people were expecting there would be a follow-up, and there is none. Now we have this organization called a Nigeria-US Partnership to solve the problem. How do you see the aftermath of that?
Okay, first of all, the bombing really consumed the lives of the commanders of that jihad that were targeted, because report from the locals there indicates that the place was obliterated, the place where these guys were gathering, were obliterated. So a lot of lives were consumed, lives of the terrorists. But of course, even if America bombed 20 times across Nigeria, that it cannot be uprooted, singularly by those bombings, because this is something, like I've said earlier, this is something that they built over the years. So they took so many years building this jihad, building this violence, this genocide against Christians, So it won't take just 1, 2, 3, 4, 20 bombing to completely eradicate this issue. Some of us are realists. I believe in realism, so I know that it won't be that easy. The only thing that will make it easy is when the Nigerian government is sincere in fighting this. So that with the cooperation with the US, as the bombing is going, look at the Sokoto incidents, for instance. The Nigerian government shamelessly came out to say, okay, yeah, they cooperated with the US, African. They gave the intel, and bombing was carried out. And then they shamelessly were saying the guys took off into different directions. Those that were not killed, they are just fleeing everywhere. Why should the government say like that? When you share intelligence and you know that they are coming to bomb them, then you have to put up your army on ground to mop up the remaining guys who are going to flee. That is simple war strategy. A very simple war strategy that the US is coming to bomb. We agree, we share intelligence, we cooperated that, okay, on this day they are coming to bomb. We agree. Then, from the surrounding environs, you have to put up your army to mop up the ones who are fleeing. But the government comes out shamelessly to tell us that, yeah, they bombed them, then some flee. So you guys didn't do anything about those that flee. So
maybe they didn't know when they were coming to bomb. Maybe they didn't inform them on the day.
Yeah, but since you guys know where they are, number one, it's even a matter of it's a thing of shame that you guys know where they are, and then you allow America to bomb them. What has happened to you guys bombing them? So it's something of shame to me that Nigeria, we have the Air Force, we have the military, and then you say you were the one who shared intelligence. You know where they are. So what stops you? Is it that they've overwhelmed you? So you could see there's so much dishonesty in this whole shenanigan. There's so much dishonesty there. And that is the biggest problem we have, the dishonesty of the government. Because if the government is really honest, I'm telling you, this whole matter will not take more than a month to be tackled. Because the sponsors of these people are all over, in the government, in the business class, in the traditional institutions, starting from, like I always say, from the caliphate to all the emirates. You know, they're there. Like we know the ones in Nasarawa State, the chiefs, like from the Serkin Adudu in Nasarawa State to the Serkin Kwara. You know, those are the people organizing these things against our people. We know all these things. We'll be sharing intelligence with these guys, but they do nothing.
I wanted to know what you think about people like Sheikh Gumi. During this incident, one of the things he said that made a lot of people from your region mad was that the burial, the coffins that were being buried, that there were nobody in them. Did you hear that? What do you think about the role he's playing in this conflict?
The biggest, my biggest surprise can only come when Sheikh Gumi says something, just one word, positive, against the genocide of Christians in Nigeria. But of course, you know, these are the enablers. These are the enablers. These are the people who have rationalized the killing. At every point, they try to rationalize it. These are the people who are live patrons of these bandits. These are the people who have access to these bandits 24 hours. Sheikh Gumi, you've seen him several times in the forest with these guys. The same Sheikh Gumi, his PA, Garba Mamu, is right now in detention in DSS custody because they found in his bank account, they found monies that were paid to kidnapping groups. They gave him his share. That's the PA of Sheikh Gumi. Look, Sheikh Gumi he went for Hajj last year March, and was deported at the airport in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia because of the intelligence report that Saudi Arabia have against him. That is a Muslim country. That's the headquarters of global Islam. But they deported him right from the airport. But this is the same person that is being revered by his people in the north and even by the government. So that goes to establish the complicity that I've always said of government in this whole thing. And that goes to also establish the dishonesty in the so-called fight against this genocide and insurgency as a whole. That we are seeing the people who are involved in it, but we are doing nothing, and we are not even bothered that we are not doing anything about it. So how does this stop?
All right. One other person I wanted to know what you think about is El Rufai. He was governor of Kaduna State for 8 years. At that point, you were in Nigeria. What do you think is the role he played in where we are today, especially with
very huge role. Very huge role. Look, Alhaji Baraje, I think was a former acting chairman of APC, also secretary. Kawu Baraje from Kwara State. Those are the founding members of APC. He was able to explain the role the lives of El Rufai played in bringing all these Fulani jihadists all over West Africa to Nigeria in 2013, 2014 to arrange them against Jonathan. And after Jonathan conceded, these guys could not settle these guys to go back from where they brought them from to where they brought them from. And so the guys decided to settle in our forest all over. These are the guys who are the henchmen of this genocide. and banditry and insurgency that is happening, most especially in the Middle Belt and in the Northeast. And you also could bear the fact, the witness that El-Rufai, in his first year in office, told Nigerians that he took a couple of billions to go and settle these killers of the people of Nigeria to stop killing. So he knows them. He took money. He took money because he wants to make a government policy so that if the money is paying to these guys will be justified. It won't be a product of embezzlement. That was a shrewd sense. He took the money of government that is going to pacify those guys. And after paying those guys, what happened? A surge. There was a surge of killing. That was when Kaduna became hotter. That was when Kaduna to Abuja road became impassable. That was even when rail lines were being bombed and trains were derailed. And Nigerians were hijacked and kidnapped. Nigerian passengers in that train. Have you forgotten? That was when the chiefs in Christian kingdoms were being killed, and then the kingdoms are being converted to emirates. Like the Aguara, the chief of one of the popular Christian chiefs in Southern Kaduna, who El-Rufai invited for a meeting in 2017. And when he went, on his way back, the Fulani terrorists attacked him and killed him. A Christian chief, heading a Christian chiefdom. And then when they killed him, what happened? El-Rufai now appointed a Fulani chief to head that Christian kingdom. And they turned it right now to a Fulani Emirates. So you can see these guys, they are using their foot soldiers to perpetrate the violence, then they are using government policy to give validity to what is happening. And then they are taking over Christian land completely. So El-Rufai is one of the principal architects of what is happening right now. Every Nigerian knows this, even the blind know this.
All right. Before we now go over to our people who are already in the studio and they want to interact with you, you painted a picture where the government, both the local governments, I'm talking about Benue State or maybe Plateau State governments, are helpless. The people are crippled in IDP camps. I wanted to know what you think about the role of some of the church leaders in Nigeria. I know that some have been coming to Washington, talking to lawmakers and playing other roles. But there are people like big churches in Nigeria that have not said much or done much. And I wanted also to hear your view on Bishop Kukah, Matthew Kukah. When the issue of the genocide, Christian genocide came up, he made some statements that he had to go back and explain what he was trying to say, because most people who had him felt that he was not outright saying that there was genocide happening in Nigeria. What do you understand by what's going on?
Okay, firstly, I have to appreciate the efforts of specific church leaders for being in the forefront of the cries against this Christian genocide. I want to start with my own bishop, the bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Makoti, Bishop Winifred Chika Anagbi. He has been to the US several times. He has addressed the Congress. He's been the forefront of this. And I want to appreciate Papa Ezekiel Dachomo in Plateau, Pastor Dachomo. We spoke just 3 days ago, and I will always share notes. I want to appreciate him so much. I want to appreciate the lives of Pastor Enenche of Dunamis in Abuja, who has been a loud voice on this same matter. And in Benue State, we have many priests. We have Father Ukema Mfa. He has been involved in this matter as long as for the past 12 years. You know, as a matter of fact, they call him Father ITP. you know, because he's been the forefront of this for the past 12 years, a priest who has been displaced several times. We have Pastor Dave Ogbole in Benin State too. But you know, there are a lot of pastors who time has revealed that just like we know that many of them are no real flocks, they are no real shepherds of Christ's flocks, you know, because we have some who are trying to be politically correct, some who are being spoiled by materialism and personal perquisites. They just need something on their own, so they cannot be seen to take a position different from what the government is saying. So we are not surprised, because even out of the just 12 apostles, there was a Judas. So how about a congregation as big as the Christian community in Nigeria that is in their millions, hundreds of millions? So we expect to have many of Judases around. So I'm not surprised. But the good thing is that some of us who are unbendable, uncompromising, will continue to project this crime and continue to seek for solution. And we thank God, we have the lives of some of these pastors and reverend fathers and bishops I enumerated. I called their names here. And for that of Kuka, it was quite a very big shame, a very big disappointment, you know. We all know the current president, Tinubu, to be one of his very close friends. So he only tried to be correct in support of a friend rather than in support of his flock. You know, he tried to dilute the truth of what's happening. And this is the same Kuka who about 10 years ago, there are a lot of records where he was calling it genocide. He called it genocide. Christian communities are the verge of extermination. Has been saying that in several instances, in several fora. But today, because his friend is the president and he has access to his friend at all times, he's trying to protect his friend. So Kuka has tried also to be politically correct, you know, against the truth of what is happening. And so Kuka ordinarily shouldn't have been taking or dissipating so much time explaining like Nigeria, you say you explain, tire, you know, you go explain, tire. So that's what he's doing right now, because the Kuka we know should be a straightforward person to hit the bull's eye straight. But you see what he did now, he's coming back to make explanations. And you see the political aspect of him has been brought to the fore when even the ruling party in Nigeria is considering him as one of the possible nominees for vice president. How can you be a Catholic bishop and then they're still considering you in a political setting, calling your name out as one of the foremost names to be adopted as vice president? So you see, that explains his effort in trying to be politically correct, because that is his party, obviously, party in code. I don't know if he's a registered member, you know, but obviously he has been quite sympathetic to the president.
What about your governor? He's also a Catholic priest, or was. I'm not sure if he's still a priest. Why is he acting as if he's not a victim, or this is not happening to his people?
Okay, so he's a suspended priest of the Catholic Church. He has been suspended for contumacy to the church. That's what the letter carries. The letter from the Bishop of Boko Diocese, Bishop Avenia, you know. And for me, I'm not surprised anyway. I'm not surprised because if he had done otherwise, I would have been very surprised. So he has all this who are trying to be politically correct against the truth of what is happening, against being a flock, a shepherd to the flock, because he's both a priest and the leader of the state. So you see, he's playing a dual role in which ordinarily he should have been a field marshal in the fight against this genocide. But you see, that is what political correctness has done. And the sake of trying to be politically relevant in the eyes of the Fulani oligarchy and the caliphate and the Fulani ruling class. So that is just a summary of what is happening. I don't want to delve further. The truth of the matter is that he has not stood up for us. He has stood up rather for the people who are killing us. Because at every point in time, he talks as if he's their spokesperson. And then he talks as if he doesn't know them. We all know them as the Fulani ethnic militia, the Fulani terrorists, the Fulani jihadists. But see, our governor has never called the name, unlike the previous governor, Otom, who was in the forefront of this fight, who has called them exactly for who they are at every point in time. The governor has never called the name Fulani killers, Fulani terrorists.
Why?
He always say our attackers.
Why do you think that's the case?
He's trying to be politically correct in their eyes. Have you observed that a Fulani Minister of Foreign Affairs came out on Piers Morgan Uncensored and then dared the governor? He was explaining that there is no Christian genocide in Nigeria. And then he said he's calling out on the governor of Benue State, that the governor of Benue State is, in his words, a man of the cloth, a priest. That if there's anything like genocide, the governor of Benue State will say it. So that he's calling on the governor of Benue State to say if there's genocide or not. A Fulani man is there, our governor to say. The governor just, within 48 hours, he came out. So you could see he's quite afraid of the guys instead of his own people. So he came out to say he is the governor of Benue State, he is a priest, and you could see that, I don't know if I should call it blasphemy. He's a priest of God, and after being governor, he's going back to the church. So he's saying the truth of the matter, that there's nothing like genocide in Benue State. There's no ethnic, no racial, no religious, no national, no state genocide happening in Benue State.
Now, so I know you've answered this question in several interviews. I just want you to explain that again for those who are just seeing you for the first time. People say that it's not just Christians that are being killed, that Muslims are being killed. That the issue with calling it a Christian genocide is that it makes it looks as if they are targeting just Christians. They are killing everybody. So for another, just one more time, can you give the answer to those who have that viewpoint? Because I've seen you give that answer to several news organizations.
I'm sorry, I was just trying to reply a very serious message, so I missed your last question.
Okay, I was talking about people who say that it's wrong to call it Christian genocide because there are Muslims being killed in all these conflicts and attacks. So how do you call it a Christian genocide? So can you again explain it? Because I know you've done it several times. For those who are seeing you for the first time.
Okay, first of all, we have to understand what is genocide. Genocide was defined by Article 2 of the United Nations Convention on the Crime and Punishment and Prevention of the on the Punishment and Prevention of the Crime of Genocide. In Article 2 of 1948, it says genocide happens when there's an attack on a people with the intention to destroy them in whole or in part, to destroy those people in whole or in part, because of their 1, ethnicity, 2, religion, 3, race. For goodness sake, look at this definition. Put it side by side what is happening. It says is that attack on a people with the intention to destroy them. That intent to destroy them will always be there. To destroy, is there intent to destroy? Yes. In whole or in part. In whole, the intent to destroy in whole has been there. The intent they've been destroyed in part. And the intent is actually to destroy in whole, but they've been destroyed in part. They made that other element. Because of what? Because of their 1, ethnicity. So for long there have been tribal genocide in Nigeria. Because like in the Northeast, they've been destroying the Hausa communities, the Hausa people. The Fulanis are the ones carrying out this thing in the Northeast. So Hausa have not been complaining. In truth, there's a genocide of the Hausa communities in the Northeast. Then in the Middle Belt, there's a genocide of Christians because of our race, our religion. What do you say when a jihadi group tells you that they are a jihadi group? That's what they've been telling us when they come to attack us. And then when they come, they use the globally recognized slogan of jihad all over the world, of Islamist terrorists. They're killing and they're shouting, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar saturated the night in Yerota. They've uttered it more than 10,000 times as we were killing our people last June 13 and 14. Allahu Akbar, bang, 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 Allahu Akbar, bang, 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 slaughtering, burning, shooting. Their target when they came was the church, the Catholic Church. So when they came, the target was the church. The church was sandwiched between the primary school and the police station. So in the primary school, there are soldiers in the primary school, and then the police station. So when they were going to the church, the police were shooting against these guys. And that was why they now diverted to the market. That is where you are seeing that about 50 people were burnt in a store, 40 people were burnt. You know, that was why the number was high. Because a lot of people went to take refuge. The higher number was in the church and the primary school. The others went to take refuge in the market. That's why you found a higher number. Okay, you say it's not genocide, but these guys have been targeting churches at every point. Churches, we saw the attack in all the churches, the live attack on that Kwara church. We saw attack churches in Plateau reduced to rubble. Have they shot? Look, they've carried out attack more than 1,000 attacks on Sunday worship, during Sunday worship. Can you point anywhere where they carry out attack during Jumat on Friday, like Friday prayers? Because that's the equivalent of Jumat. Do you understand? Sunday worship. You go during Sunday worship. Okay, the Kaduna attack, was it not during Sunday worship? The last week attack in Kajuru, in the 3 churches. During Sunday worship. That is the equivalent of Jumat. Jumat, that on Friday, they all gathered and went to a central mosque for Friday prayers. So what is it that is not religious there?
There are some Muslims that will listen to you now and say that they've also attacked mosque.
I'm coming to that. How many mosques have been attacked? And the attack in the mosque, like in the northeast where this has happened, and northwest rather, where this has happened, was for the sake of revenge. That like many of the interviews I've watched from Katsina, they said there was 1 or 2 guys who are a member of the vigilante group who fought those guys. So they came for them during morning prayers. They've always given that. They did not come basically to attack that mosque the way they come basically targeting a church. They come to fish out 1, 2, 3 guys who were members of civilian joint task force who fought them. We've watched all those and we've listened to the excuses they gave. But most importantly, look, there's nowhere where genocide has happened that the communities, the people who carried out the genocide were also not affected. There's nowhere. When genocide was happening in Rwanda, Hutus were killing Tutsis. Were moderate Hutus not killed? So does that negate the fact that there was a genocide? Moderate Hutus were killed. In their thousands. Moderate Hutus. You know this as a fact. The Rwanda genocide. Hutus were the ones carrying out the genocide against the Tutsis. But they killed moderate Hutus. The ISIS genocide in the Levant, in Syria and Iraq, they were killing Christians in numbers. You see, they wear Christians that orange clothes, take them to the beach, shoot them back for their, carrying out that genocide. But they were killing Muslims. But then it was genocide. So, but now, as a lawyer, let me also distinguish these crimes. There's a general pervasive terrorism in Nigeria. So some of these crimes happening against Muslims are terrorism. There are also a violent crime called kidnapping. Just like there's a violent crime called rape. There's another violent crime called armed robbery. There's a violent crime called assault. These are categories of violent crimes. There's a violent crime called grievous bodily harm. Then there's a violent crime called genocide. So genocide is when you target these guys because of their faith. because of their ethnicity. The ones committed against us is genocide. The ones committed against the Muslim, fellow Muslims, it's terrorism. It's terrorism. Are they banditry? Are they kidnapping? So these are the various segments of these violent crimes. So the fact that they are killing Muslims does not negate the truth of the genocide happening in Nigeria. It's just another kind of violent crime against them. You know? Against them. When they were killing one of the most popular genocide of the last century was the one in Srebrenica, the Bosnian genocide. The Bosnian genocide, the Serbs were carrying out, but they killed the Serbs too. Have you forgotten? When Slobodan Milosevic, the guy that was tried at the International Criminal Court, the head of the Serbs at that time, they killed Serbs too, but they were killing Bosnians. They killed over was it 8,000 Bosnians? That is the number that has been 1,000,000 times more in Nigeria of the Christians. That number that amounted to genocide in Bosnia was even less than the number of people killed in Benue by the Fulani. So what are we not saying? You know, and most importantly, finally on this issue, Rudolph, we have been using the word genocide for the past 12 years. In 2016, I was one of the lawyers of the group called MAFO in Benue State. MAFO is MAFO. That's Movement Against Fulani Occupation. I was one of the lawyers there that went to ECOWAS court in 2016. That was our grounds that genocide has been carried out against us. Then in 2017, we formed an association in Abuja called VATIM, VATIM, Vanguard Against Thief Massacre. We staged a protest. I sent one of the pictures to you. Now, the picture where I was addressing press in front of the National Assembly gate. At that protest, as far back as 2017, our placards were carrying genocide. Genocide. In 2018, there was a mass killing in my local government, massacre of about 78 people, where Governor Otom, that was January 1st, 2018, Governor Otom carried out the burial, mass burial of those people. The grave, right now, the cemetery where those guys are buried, is in Makurdi. If you go to Makurdi from Welfare Quarters Road to Mobile Police Barracks Road, you find the grave where those 78 victims were buried. The signboard there, the signboard that was fixed there as far back as 2018, says burial site of the 78 victims of Fulani genocide carried out in Benue on 1st and 2nd January 2018. So you see, we'll be calling it genocide, but because it is we, the locals, that are calling it genocide, the government was not serious with us until when the international community started calling it genocide. The international community only consolidated what we've been saying. We've been saying time without number. But they were happy that they were carrying out the genocide against us because that is the aim, that is the motive. But when the international community started using the same words that we have been using, then it became a problem. So you could see the dishonesty involved in this whole fight.
All right. Thank you so much. What we're going to do now, our guest has about 40 minutes left to be with us. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we now get our people involved in the conversation. Just 3 minutes. I know that you've been waiting. Thank you so much for your patience. We take 3 minutes break and we'll be right back to have you weigh in and talk to our guest. Thank you, everybody. All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are just joining us, we've been having a conversation with lawyer and activist uh, Franc Utoo, who has been behind the struggle to let the international community know about the conflict, the genocide in Nigeria against Christians. So he's here in the studio with us for the next maybe 40 minutes. So let's give you a chance to talk to him. And if you have a question and a comment, please make it brief so that we can get to as many people as possible. If you're in the studio and you want to be part of this, please turn on your camera. We don't let people in without their camera on. All right, let me start with you, KJ. KJ, you're on my right, on my left. Welcome.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Rudolph, for giving me an opportunity. And I want to thank you, Franc Utoo.
Thank you so much.
So very much. Most of what you've said, I followed all your, activities, and in fact, I was one of the participants. And in some of the genocides that have been going on for so long, I was even part of, we did a story on Bishop Kuka when his church was blown off in Sokoto. So when he said there's no genocide, it really bothers me, because we all used to love him. But anyway, time always exposes those who are for and those who are against. I will give other people an opportunity to go ahead and ask questions, because for me, even your being here has done a lot for clarity and all that. So I don't have a lot of questions for you, but when they are true, then maybe I can come back. So thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate all your effort and what you have been able to do so far. Coming all the way from Utoom's government till this time, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, KJ. Let's go to Tony. You're next.
Doctor, good afternoon. Frank, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
First of all, my condolences for all that is happening, that's happened to your people. I understand it. I can understand how you feel.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for the struggle, and don't be deterred until freedom is achieved. Now, I have heard the thought chief, professor, distinguished professor, say to the president that this is not a headers community crisis, in the presence of the governor of Benue State. And even he has said it also to the Mayati Allah when they had a discussion, a confrontation sort of. Why is it so difficult for the government and the president himself to accept the reality of this situation? Why is the country so fixated on whether it's Christian or Muslim, or why are they not focused on trying to end this conflict and save the lives of people who are being killed? That's my question. Thank you.
Okay. This, I said earlier here that in 2013 and 2014, they brought thousands of these guys and saturated our forest, starting from the forest in Katsina to Kaduna, southern Kaduna, all the way to the Gwari axis. And in Nasarawa State was headed by a CPC governor, then Almakura, one of the closest allies to Buhari. These are notorious facts, well-known facts, very well established by many people, even like Kawu Baraje, former acting chairman of APC. He mentioned it, that they brought these violent Fulani militias from all over the Sahel and camped them in Nigeria in preparedness to fight Jonathan if he doesn't relinquish power. Now, those are the militias that are all over our forest. Carrying out this, look, my community bordered Nasarawa South. Nasarawa South particularly has the local governments of Obi, Kiana, Awe, Doma, and Lafia. These guys are all over the forest. The communities that were thief communities, let me tell you, the most persecuted thief in Nigeria are the thief people of Nasarawa State. We are very persecuted, we in Benue. But for me, as much as I'm persecuted, I even pity the guys, the thief communities in Nasarawa State. Because these guys have taken over more than 70 of thief communities. They've obliterated the people. They've taken over Fulani that speak French rather than English. So you know that these are the guys who were brought. And that time, Governor Almakura, these are the people who are complicit in this whole thing. Governor Almakura. The Governor Almakura was calling them international hunters. That is a nomenclature he gave them because they will raise this dust, and then he was describing them as international hunters, as if Nasarawa State has international hunting route. You know, and the people are still there. Those are the people that carried out that attack. Look, the attack in Yerwata, we know the people. The people who carried out the attack in my village where 278 of my kinsmen were killed, they are this Fulani from the neighboring state of Nasarawa, who brought in some of their fighters from elsewhere, but the whole thing was headed by one guy called Babaji. Babaji is the Ardo, that's the king of the Fulani in the Kadoko axis of Nasarawa State. And one Sarkin Samari, a vicious Fulani fighter, French speaking. These guys, when they were coming, they stopped over at Giza, a neighboring community, and had their prayers, their Muslim prayers there for about 1 hour before proceeding to go to my village. The community was about 10 kilometers away from my village. Before proceeding to go and kill people. So we all know all these things, all the people. But you see, it's the sincerity, I keep saying, is the sincerity of government. Because look, the Almajiri boys who come with AK-47 in our communities killing people, they cannot even raise 50,000 of their own, but an AK-47 in Nigerian naira goes for about 3 million. When they came to my community, brought more than 100 AK-47 and general purpose machine guns. So you know that these guys are sponsored by their oligarchs, by emirs, all the way to the caliphate, by their own political leaders. And that is why it is so difficult. How can, for instance, over 100 Fulani people invaded Yerwata and killed, and up to now you are still talking of arrest? You've not arrested them. Do you understand? Over 100. You've not arrested them. But this is one of the, I will have to also reveal this maybe for the first or second time, that day we neutralized 3 of them when they were retreating, our boys with their local guns. Out of these 3, we found out a popular Fulani guy who has already come to our market. We found out one soldier, Fulani soldier, in the neighboring community of Giza. So you could see that their soldiers always get themselves involved. Soldier, a Fulani soldier, with his ID card in his pocket. 2 weeks before that attack, the attack of May 28th in my community, where my late father's closest friend, Ulam, was killed with 2 of his children and 2 neighbors. The following day, they found out one of the Fulani guys who carried out attack with blood splashed on his bike. And when he was arrested by the youth of the neighboring community, where he was trying to make his escape, he said the bike was given to him by a Fulani soldier in that neighboring community called Ude. That's my ward headquarters. And then the youth of that area, they took the Fulani suspect with the bike to the primary school, Baptist primary school, where the soldiers are stationed, and accosted the Fulani guy who gave, it was one of these bikes that, you know, government do give soldiers, you know, to aid them. You know, I think he gave a Fulani guy to go and carry out killing with it. And the Fulani soldier, Suleiman, that's his name, Suleiman, was taken to the 72 Special Forces Battalion in Mokodi, headed by another Fulani man, and that died a natural death. So you could see these guys are so strategic. They place themselves everywhere. The Fulani soldiers are commanding us in our own place. And then in the Nasarawa State, which has been the sanctuary of these Fulani killers, where they come out to attack Plateau, they come out to attack Southern Kaduna, they come out to attack Benue. The Nasarawa is always headed by a police commissioner of Fulani ethnic stock. The last police commissioner was transferred to police Staff's College in Jos last December, and the governor of Nasarawa was in America for holiday because his family is in Texas, in Houston. And so when he went back to Nasarawa, he asked for the reinstatement of the commissioner of police that was redeployed, the Fulani guy. He came back after 2 weeks or a week of redeployment. So they made Nasarawa State as a sanctuary and as a landing pad to carry out attack. And that is why, you know, that the current governor of Nasarawa State lost his election twice. The clearest one was the 2019 election. He lost to my secondary school mate. I schooled in Government College, Kefi. So, Devmatis Ombugadu. Devmatis Ombugadu was my secondary school junior by a year, the PDP candidate. The PDP candidate defeated the governor in his local government of Akwanga, defeated the deputy governor in his local government of Doma, defeated those guys everywhere. They used on the night of the announcement, the returning officer now deferred the announcement to the following day to continue. At that point, the match was winning by a landslide. Only for that night, a private jet, landed in Lafia Airport, which was completed but not operational yet, landed there with some of these elements. In that jet, they came, accosted a returning officer that had already adjourned collection and announcement to the following day by 10 a.m. They ambushed the guy. He went and announced this current governor by 12 midnight, 1 a.m. at the Federal University in Lafia. Why did they do that? Because they don't want to lose. They've taken Nasarawa State as a landing pad against the attack. You know, they need a base, the way United States have bases, you know, in the Middle East, in other places. So they need a base to be carrying out this attack. And so they always try as much as possible to foist a Fulani proxy in Nasarawa State as governor. Look at the attack just day before yesterday. 80 people were killed in Kiana local government, in a Tea community called Umai, in Kwara district of Kiana local government of Nasarawa State. They were butchered in their ponds. They went fishing. They were butchered. Look, I even had to contribute money yesterday so that they would take one of the women to Jos University Teaching Hospital because they butchered her on the neck and it affected her spinal cord. Just day before yesterday, up to this moment, the governor of Nasarawa State has not uttered a word on that. So that is what is. We know this part. See, like I told the Congress the other time, I'm an authority in this area. I have all the bare facts. So that is what has been happening. You could see it is so strategic. So strategic. And let me tell you, it's just starting. We are in for a very long thing. A very long time, because it is a jihad that has been calculated, has been organized so well. And so even these bombings may just only soften it. It will not eradicate it. Because it is a plot that has always been there. But unfortunately, my community is placed on the borderline. And so we are the buffer. I can see many of you here may be Southerners. So we are the buffer between these guys and you. And that's why we're bearing the brunt. We created that boundary between them and you. So they have to finish with us before they get to you. But even before that, they've already saturated your forest. They're all over the forest of every state in Nigeria. So that is what we are facing. And that is why some of us are up on this and will never relent. In short, we've committed our life to this fight.
All right. Thank you so much. Let's go to Mr. James. If he's not ready, we can skip him and go to somebody else. We have about 30 minutes left, so please make your questions short so that he can get to that and we get to everybody. Yeah, some people were at the back end. Mr. James, go ahead.
I'm sure you can hear me.
Yes.
Doctor, can you take me to the back end, please?
All right.
It is pitiful that we find ourselves in this situation in the Republic. I'm not a Christian, neither am I a Muslim, but I'm interested in what's happening in the country because I'm a Nigerian. In the Christian Bible, there's a verse, Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 9. There's nothing new under the sun. It's gratifying that you made reference to Ottoman Empire quite well at the beginning of this program. What is happening to you right now in northern Nigeria happened to the Armenians in Ottoman Empire, when the empire made the fatal error of siding, I think, with the Central Powers during the First World War, which they lost. On the verge of losing the war, they wreaked their anger on the Christians, and the Christians were deported beyond the war zone to, I think, Babylon, modern-day Iraq, or somewhere around there, and it resulted in the Armenian genocide. This is a replica of what happened during the First World War we are going through at the moment. Anyway, the issue is this. There are certain misconceptions I want to correct. The idea of calling this the idea of killing the terrorists, I'm against it for one reason. To me, they are innocent boys. There are people sponsoring these guys. These are the people you should go after. If they are carrying AK-47, where did they get it? If they're asking for ransom, billions of the naira, you see them wearing tattered clothes, very dirty people. What are they doing with the billions? People are collecting this money. These are the people you should go after. Stop killing these boys. They are innocent boys as far as I'm concerned. They don't even know what they are doing. Majority of them are not educated. So they just deceive them. If you die during a jihad, you go to paradise to marry 72 women, which I find very absurd, because if a girl should die during jihad, we should go to paradise also to marry 72 husbands. These are issues they cannot rationalize. So that's one point. Then the second point is, there is no forest in northern Nigeria. What you have is savanna grassland. We should get that part crystal clear. If you call your area forested region, what will you call Delta State, Edo State, River State, Cross Rivers? Those are the areas where we have geographically where we call forests, not in the savanna region. It's open grassland. Any aircraft flying across the area can pick up anybody, anywhere, at any time. So we should correct that, what's it called? Correct that impression. Among you Christians in Benue and Plateau State in particular, you have Moors. There are some people who have pretended to have converted to Christianity from Islam in your midst, supplying information on your strategies and how to go about things to their people. And this has assisted them tremendously in launching attacks on you people. One of them appeared on this program some time ago. I detected it and I put it to him. If you are a repentant terrorist, without confession, there can be no forgiveness. Have you confessed your sins to the Christians, what you did against them while you were a Muslim? Have you confessed your sins to the state, that this is what I did, I need state forgiveness? If the answer is no, it's a mole in your midst. So you guys should be on the lookout at all times. It's a pity I will not be able to say much because so many people on the queue. I wish you well. I'm very worried because if they finish dealing with you in the Middle Belt, what will they do to us? You've lived with them for centuries. You are all the same people as we are concerned. If they treat you in this fashion, what will they do to us? In the southern part of the country. Yes. There's an Irish poet who said, if gold rusts, what will iron do? If they deal with you so ruthlessly, it means, according to the Zulu, Siyafa. Siyafa means we are finished. So thank you very much for your effort, and I sincerely
thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. James. Let's go to Ernest. Ernest, we are short of time, so don't behave like James. And James is a guru, so we have to give him more time.
Take me to backstage, please. Take me to backstage.
All right, so Ernest, go ahead. Your question or comment, make it brief, so we can get to that.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, you are from Benue State, and sometimes we focus on Benue State. But from my own part of Enugu State, we are also involved. So if you go there, you see that some churches are they flooded, they are burnt it. In fact, there was a time we had an IDP camp in Ihamufisus or in Enugu State. So it's not only Benue people that are involved. the part of Enugu State that is close to Benue, they are also attacked. So, but my question is, do people have any plan of working with other part of Nigeria, like Middle Belt Forum working with Igbos? Because I know there was a time the ESN tried to invite or try to include Middle Belt youth, especially Benue youth, to fight the Fulani, but people were not coming forward. So, what is your plan? What is the plan of Benue State or Middle Belt people? This guy Arnold said, "What if America did not come? What are you people what is your plan? What do you want to do in case America didn't come to help? Do you people have anything in mind, like maybe the Middle Belt militia working with ESN? Because government will not help you. You have to have that one at the back of your mind. And that government will not help you. America may not come. Then what will happen?"
All right. Thank you, Ernest. Frank, go ahead.
All right. So long before now, we've had our vigilante groups who have been fighting this, like during Susam's administration. The administration was very deliberate in empowering our guys and then getting the necessary logistical tools to withstand this. And that's why you've not been hearing it that time. At some time, we become even offensive because when we notice that the attack has been carried out from some of these Ruga communities in the neighboring Nasarawa state, sometimes our guys go there to scatter those Ruga communities. Do you understand? So that was why you've not heard much during some administration like this, even though they are aware, but not as much as this. You know, but the government complicity became very well established when, starting from Buhari administration up to this moment, the soldiers that were dispatched to our locations in the name of helping to maintain peace were actually sent with a singular motive. That is the motive of disarming our youth with their then guns. So that is what they've been doing. They've been coming to arrest our youth. I know how many times I've intervened when they arrested our youth in Yelwata and brought them to Makodi because they were in possession of 10 guns. You know, I know how many times I intervened. And you could see the complicity very clear when there was a time those guys came. At no time were the soldiers involved in, you know, killing these guys. Anytime they come, what the soldiers do is just to shoot in the air to just show their location so that the guys shouldn't come there. But there was a time that a soldier, Staff Sergeant Kingsley, I'll withhold his surname, Staff Sergeant Kingsley, Yoruba soldier, who, when they came attacking our community, he joined with our own version of civilian joint task force, and they went after these terrorists and killed 13 of them. I came to the village the following day. I went to the bush. I saw those bodies, and out of these 13, 2 were carrying ID cards of soldiers. Again, of Fulani soldiers. 2. But do you know what happened? Instead of the army authority to give accolade to this staff sergeant who led that attack to repel those guys, what they did was that the following day, as early as 10 a.m., they redeployed him out of Yelwata because he went out of his brief by killing those guys. They were not meant to be killed. So you could see the conspiracy. Now, we welcome any kind of association that is directed towards protecting us, protecting our communities. Like I keep saying, I said it in several interviews that, look, life is in phases. We've taken the phases of, we are in the phase of this advocacy, bringing the facts very clear and calling for support, external support and internal support, asking the government to live up to her responsibilities as enunciated in section 14 sub 2 paragraph B of the Constitution that says the security and welfare of the people is the primary purpose of government. So if government fail to this end, it is the right of the people to on her own defend themselves. And any form of defense is welcome at that point. Any form of defense and collaboration is welcome at that point. That is just the truth of the matter, because we cannot sit back and see ourselves going extinct. Today, as I talk to you, like I keep saying in many of my interviews, more than 50% of the young guys I knew while growing up in my community are dead. Many of my cousins, they were just killed in their, just like that. So if we don't do anything, it will get to us. Because already, look, I keep even mentioning this example. I say, look, on the day of election, this election in 2023, in February 2023, presidential election, I was in the government of Otom. I was in the PDP. Now I'm not into Nigerian politics. I was in the PDP at that point. So our decision in the PDP in Benue was to vote for Peter Obi for governor, for president, and the rest of our candidates. You know, so I was the most I was the most senior political office holder from that part of my local government, from Yerwata, my village. I've been respected so massively in my village. So I don't usually do party things in my village because we're like one big family. So I don't like causing that division. But on the day of election, I went to tell our people, I said, look, vote for Peter Obi for president, vote for Otom for Senate. And all. My community said, no. Otom did not defend them enough. Even though I was in Otom's government, they voted against Otom. So they voted massively for APC, voted for Tinubu. My cousin, who was the agent of APC that day, he was killed in that last attack. Do you understand? He was killed in that last attack. The agent of APC, their facilitators, all those guys who stay around the polling unit and be convincing people to vote APC, they were killed. My friend Choswe Shinku, he came because he voted APC. He saw me at the polling unit. He doesn't want to greet me. He turned his other way. He just voted and then left the other direction. He was killed. So see, my people voted, but the government did not. Like I said in that channel's interview you played, Rudolph, I said our people met their own part of the social contract responsibility by exercising their civic responsibility, and they voted a government. It's a contract that government, we have voted you, so you have to defend us. But the government has failed in that responsibility. And you know, this is so well encapsulated in paragraph 2 of the American Declaration of Independence, which says, we hold this truth to be self-evident that all men are created equal and are endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these are the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that government is instituted amongst men to protect these rights. And so whenever any government becomes destructive to this end, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish that government. So that's the situation we are in right now. So we need cooperation from anywhere just to stay alive. That is the least of what we're saying.
All right, thank you. Let's go to recolonization. You are next.
Good evening to everybody, Mr. Rudolph, my brother Frank. Thank you for coming. You know, well, I was enjoying what you're saying, what you've been saying. Anyway, I'm much more militant in nature because, like when you run against the wall, all you have to do is to bounce back. And most of my life I've been like that, running against the wall. So now I'm bouncing back, whether you live or die. What I just want to say or encourage you guys is, we have seen what is going on in Nigeria. We don't have a government. We don't have a country. I've told my brothers in this platform, we need people to come and help us. Some say, what are you saying? So for me, my question, that brother Ernest says they have asked you really what I wanted to ask, because you can't fold your hands and people keep killing. You guys have to arm yourself. I don't care from where. That's what I want to say. If I live in that part of the world, I will arm myself. Whether a knife or anything, I will hold it, because when they kill you, it's gone and nobody protects you. That's what I want to add. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you so much, recolonization. Let me just play this video with a brief video in terms of to connect to what you guys are bringing up. and then I'll ask him to weigh in about when do you do something and what should you do. Let's watch.
Right now, we are all sitting ducks. These people are armed to the teeth with all sorts of weapons of mass destruction, and we don't have them. But we have the numbers, and the land belongs to us. They are trying to recolonize us and take over our land. Can I allow you to defend yourselves? Your Majesty, you heard what they've said. You must then unite our people. A lot of the attacks that I got was from our people. They said I told them to defend themselves. I didn't give them arms. I will not give you arms. Find out how these people who have it got it.
All right, that was T.Y. Danjuma. He's been an advocate for self-defense for the people of the middle belt, and the people there, they have a lot of retired army officers. They don't like people with experience in military operations, and he said exactly almost all the things that we hear from people from the middle belt when they come up to talk about the situation there. What are the challenges? Why is that very, very difficult, especially when they are part of almost all the governments we've had in Nigeria? They were in PDP, they were in APC, now everybody's going to APC. Why is that difficult to get to that point where self-defense will be something that they can advocate for themselves? I went to Benue and I went to see somebody, and they had, it's a business, they had this guy with a small gun, you know, and I looked at the guy and I said, if the militia, the bandits, or they come, that gun can know that guy will run away. But is that the best?
Rudolph, it seems you guys don't get what I've been saying here. See, right now in my phone, I have a picture that I took in 2014 with our young guys, well armed. They're well armed. You see them with those guns, about 20 of them in 2014, February 2014. They were in our forest. They were guarding our community. You know, because that was when this thing started becoming frequent. That year, that was when it started becoming frequent, you know, when they brought out those foreign jihadists and placed them in our forest all over. So, do you know, out of all those guns, all were seized by the military. I told you something here, maybe you did not observe. I say, look, the military detachment in many of these communities in Benue State, their singular responsibility is to disarm our people. So when a military, like in my council ward, military are stationed in 4 places. In my council ward, my council is called Guma local government, which is one of the epicenter of this killing. Guma, the local government bordering Nasarawa State. That's my local government. It has 10 council ward. My council ward is called Niev Council Ward, the biggest council ward. In Niev Council Ward, the military are stationed in 4 communities. 1, Yerwata. 2, Ude, our ward headquarters. 3, Ukoho. 4, Otesi. In these 4 places. Now, their responsibility there majorly is to disarm. And the moment the military is placed there, they know where these arms are. Because often these guys come to attack our communities. Then these boys go out with the arms to fight off these terrorists. That is when the military begin to, okay, as the fight is going on, that's when they begin to disarm our guys. But when our boys just return back from where they go to accost these terrorists, and then from their intelligence, with local modes too, we always tell them that this is where the arms are. So that is how they disarmed us. They disarmed us completely. And so today, if you get an arm there, they will still know where their arm is. They will just go. That is what they've been doing, and that establishes the conspiracy here. It says, look, the conspiracy in the Middle Belt is so thick. The genocide is so thick because today the Nigerian government is trying to show the international community that they are fighting terrorism because of the pressure that's been coming, right? But do you know the shrewdness, the way they are doing it very shrewdly? What they do is that they will always show dead bodies of terrorists annihilated, neutralized in Borno. I say, look, even yesterday, Nigerian soldiers have killed about 10 terrorists. They'll just display them with their motorbikes. Have you ever seen any in the North Central? Have you ever seen any that kill any guy in Benue, any of the terrorists in Benue, in Plateau, in Southern Nasarawa, in Southern Kaduna? None. So they use that to deceive the international community that they are fighting terrorism. And they begin to display, because the international community will know the difference, begin to display bodies of people they killed in Borno. But meanwhile, the epicenter of this genocide is Middle Belt. So the conspiracy against our people is so thick. It's so thick. We're gasping for breath. We're gasping. Their hands are like this on our throat. We're gasping for breath. You could see the conspiracy in government against our people. They will not allow us to defend ourselves. How many times have I intervened when I was in Makurdi? In 2022, I intervened up to 6 times when they arrested our people and brought them to Makurdi. Then guns. In our community for self-defense. You know, how many times have we arrested some of these Fulani alive? We arrested, we gave them to the police and the soldiers in Makurdi, and then the following day they are left off the hook to go because of calls from the upper north. You know, so because it's a matter of conspiracy. If we really want to really have tools to defend ourselves, but the state is standing against us and thereby rendering us vulnerable to these attacks. That's the situation we are in.
All right. Thank you, Frank. We have about 3 minutes, but we are going to, hopefully, Frank, you can give us a chance to get the people who are already in the studio to weigh in. Chris, go ahead. Make it brief, please. Unmute yourself.
Yes. Good evening. Mine is finding solutions. You know, the Fulanis are fighting you as Fulanis, but they are fighting you as Benue people, Nasarawa people, Taraba people. But all these people are called TV, in my own understanding. And the TV are the people that stopped the Fulanis in their madness when they started it in 1804. So if you are now listening, now that Trump is listening to you, so are you willing to bring such documents like the Aburi Accord, where all the military, the police are stationed from the ethnic nationalities where they come from? And do you think that if, for instance, the TV ethnic nationality, the troops stationed in this Middle Belt are made up of TV ethnic nationality, there will be such infiltration by the Fulanis to kill massively as they have done?
We've also called for this several times that, look, let the people who belong to that community be the police in that community, even be the soldiers deployed to this community, let them be of the same ethnic stock. That would be a way to checkmate this. We've called for this several times. Press conferences we've done, we've called for this. But you know, it will work. And incidentally, many of the soldiers deployed to my community are Fulani soldiers. Many of the soldiers are Fulani soldiers. You understand? So you could see it is so deliberate. You are fighting a demagogue, you know. So that could have been the solution, what you suggested. That could have been the solution, but the truth of the matter, like I said, we've called for it several times. And it is not only TIV that is affected. Actually, TIV are majority in Benue, but Idoma communities have also been affected majorly. Like the killing in Agatu, you were aware of over 500 that were killed in Agatu about around 2017. About 500 in one night in Agatu. Agatu is Idoma. Even last week, they killed in 2 Idoma communities, in Otukpo local government and Ohimin local government. They've been killing in plateau communities, affecting Birom, Chala, Magavul, you know, in Riom local government, in Mangu local government, in Bokos local government, in Bankin Laji local government, just south, just east. They've been killing the Jaba people and the Kachia people in southern Kaduna, and the Kataf people from Zango Kataf to Kafanchan to Kajuru to Jama local government in Kaduna State. They've been killing T people in Taraba, T people in Nasarawa, and now even the other ethnic minorities in Nasarawa who have been aligning themselves with this Fulani just because of their common hatred, mutual hatred for the T. They become also praise to these guys now. These guys have started kidnapping them. You know, so these are guys you cannot give refuge to. So these are the communities. So it's not only TV. Yeah, we stopped their progression southward. We are a tribe of warriors, like you know. We stopped the jihad this side of the valley, you know, and then we also constitute some of the highest number of soldiers in the British frontier during the Second World War. Soldiers, my maternal grandfather was involved, right? He went all the way to Burma and Malaysia today, to fight for the British. And then during the Civil War, the bulk of the Nigerian infantry soldiers were from the Middle Belt. You could not even figure out one Fulani soldier that was so remarkable in that war. They have Middle Belt soldiers of Tiv, Idoma, and Plateau, especially Angas and Lantan soldiers. You know, so we're from a tribe of warriors. So when you give us a level playing field with these people, we'll just finish them within a day. And so that is why they have to tie our arms behind our backs and expose us to vulnerability. So that is, it's calculated and it's designed by the state.
All right, thank you. Let's go to comparable facts.
No, I was here before him. I think you jumped me. I was here before him.
Okay. Can I hold on? Go ahead, comparable facts.
You want me to go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead.
Am I being sidelined or what?
Greeting everybody. Greeting Mr. Otto. I've had an interaction with you and impression. It's nice to have you on the platform.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much. So my question, I'm just going to go straight to the question. Yeah, what are the main drivers behind this attack? Is it religious, extremist, or landist, or government failure, or combination of both? Lastly, to my data, why Gowon has not been speaking? Thank you very much.
Okay, so it's a combination of all. It's a genocide. What's the purpose of the genocide? Religious domination and ethnic domination. And how do you dominate? You take over people's land. So it's a combination of all. You take people, and that is why, like I said in an earlier answer, there are 2 major associations in Benue State that were in the forefront of this fight. And one of the associations is called Movement Against Fulani Occupation. It's about occupation. That's MAFO. Then the other is Vanguard Against Thief Massacre, the massacre of the people. So you have to massacre, you have to kill them en masse, then they move, then you occupy. And so when you occupy, you practice your religion, your new religion that you brought to that land. That is the summary of what's happening. So for Gawan, I don't know, because I'm not close to him. I don't know much about him. The fact of the matter is that I know he's very old now.
All right, thank you, comparable facts.
Welcome.
All right, can I go ahead?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Good to see you, Mr. Frank. I don't know if I got the name right.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You see, while you are responding to one of our brothers here, you were calling for help. You were calling for collaborations in order to fight off these menace that we find ourselves in. And you see, I'm not good at sugarcoating things, so sometimes I need to call names, right? How to fight off these Fulani Islamic terrorists. I don't think you need to sit down, fold your hands, and be calling for help. You need to go out there to work with others. Nigeria generally is suffering from this problem, but we still have some other people, maybe your proximate neighbors. I think for some certain degree, they are able to stand up these people. So you need to really work with others in order to fight them off. Now, as you can see, they have a strategy, the North Central Claim, comprising of Plateau State, Taraba, maybe Taraba, we have Southern Kaduna, Nasarawa, Kogi, Benue, and the rest. So that's North Central is one of their strategies that they are using to annex this area, to make sure that they not only dominate, but to take over of the land, right? And if possible, wipe off. And this has nothing to do with tribe. It has everything to do with religion, the Islam. Now, we had the thief, the Nupes, the Baris, the Jukuns, the Magavos, and part of the Ankois and all the rest. They were able to withstand these people. They withstood them and made sure that they were not conquered when they invaded that area. Today, there's another strategy that they are using is that religion, Islam. Once you give them a position as Megad, before you know it, they become the chief security, they become the chairman of that area, they've taken over the state. So gradually they penetrate like kerosene, right? So in order not to allow these people eat you raw, make sure you guys have to go on a massive sensitization of your people, education of your people, not to let them, even if that person is a thief Muslim, do not allow him to take up any position in your community or your state. That was how they were able to conquer Nasarawa State. We're talking about Doma and all that. I know those places, Lafia, Akwanga, what they call it, even all the way to Plateau, Namu, Shandam, Lantan. I know all those places, but they were able to conquer Nasarawa. Now, they want to use Nasarawa to conquer Benue State. You guys should not give them the chance. Thank God for the people of Plateau State that they've woken up from their slumber and they are now trying to fight them off. Do not allow any Muslim to take up any political position in your area. If not, they will conquer you. You're talking about, we all know about the government complicity, where they are using the soldiers, the police to achieve all this nonsense. We all know this. Can we fight the government? Can we fight the Nigerian soldiers or Nigerian police? No, but we have other strategies to use. Do not give them chance to take up any position. Yes, they know how to rig election. They will rig election in Nigerian palace language. They say eyeball to eyeball. Do your worst. Look, we see. They will rig the election. You will cry, wipe off your tears, and you will not do anything about it. They will ask you to go to court. What will happen? Nothing. So the infiltration of your people and the total takeover is what they want to achieve, and they're achieving it gradually. We have a brother here. I don't know why he's not here today. Our pastor here, John Abba. I don't know why John Abba is not here. He's from Benue State. You know, he has been crying here, but I don't know how sincere that cry is, because you guys need to work with others. Detach yourself from that claim, that north central claim. Maybe insist on your middle belt. Work with others. What's his name? Buhari was working for them, and now today one old dying man in the name of Atiku is coming over, and you guys think is of any good for your people, provided they are Muslims or Fulani. All they want to do is to conquer that middle belt and take it up, join them, and they become of Muslim area. I mean, northern Muslim. That's what they want. It's up to you guys to wake up from your slumber. You can work with the southerners. We are whatever that happens in the 60s, between 60s and 70s, we forgive him. We don't take all this into heart. All we are fighting for is for survival. And it's disheartening. It's really, really killing us that bloods are being shed every day because of land. The same land that you and I will be buried in. So maybe if it is that deep, 6 feet, and we are gone, right? You are killing your brothers, killing your fellow human beings because of land. So we on the other part of the country, we are all open hands. We can work together. We can be all southerners, if possible, to fight off these people. Retain that name, middle belt. Educate your people. Do not allow them to infiltrate your region any further. I think this is the only way. But we can't go to war with government anyway. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Quickly, let's we're out of time that he has with us. Let me go to you. Stay humble.
Yeah, good evening, Frank. It's good to have you here. I'm really glad to be given the opportunity at last to ask the question or to say my mind, really. Yeah, I've read a little bit about you online. Yeah, I've seen what you've done, the politics you've played a bit, and the speeches that you've given, both in Nigeria and in the US, etc. But again, what I do here is to speak to the hearts of issues. So when will you consider the solutions? What do you think about self-determination? You seem to be a leader of thought. You are very popular among your people. So you know what your people think, how they react to things. So what do they think about self-determination? Because people have advocated a lot of things. You've gone to the US, you've given your speeches, you've done this or that or that. I just think that those things are total waste of time. Because what your grandparents were told when they were kids, the stories they were told were about how they resisted the Fulani Islamic conquest. The stories you were told is how your grandparents killed the Igbo people who were seeking self-determination, not because they wronged the Middle Belt people, just because they were seeking self-determination. The story you will tell your children, again, is how you were killed, your people were killed by the Fulani herdsmen. So all through history, it's been war, it's been conflict. So when will you sit down and synthesize your own thoughts and try to chart a definite course for your people? Have you considered self-determination? Because the so-called Middle Belt people, when you hear them speak, they say, oh, and the people that are agitating for self-determination are just time wasters, that we must maintain that charade, that business project of whoever that you always run to, called Nigeria, that we must maintain it, that even people that are agitating, wait a minute, for self-determination, that they will kill themselves when they get their own nations. You must not be a middle belt nation. The thief nation is a nation of more than 2 million people, spanning across Nassau, Benue, Plateau, Cross River, and even the Cameroons. So there is nothing preventing you from standing on your own. You have your land, you have vast area of land. You are better than many European countries standing on their own. You have the land more than them. You have the resources more than them. You have the human resources more than they do. There is nothing preventing you from being a nation of your own. It must not be a middle belt country. It must not be a north central country. The thief nation can be a nation standing on their own and thriving and making progress. And they can, there are many nations that are ready to cooperate with them, even around them and outside the continent. So have a think and come up with the definite solutions.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So, Frank, you want to say something about that? No?
Okay, I'll just say something briefly here. Look, I am a proponent of one very strong Nigeria. But on the flip side, I've seen that Nigeria is not working. And so I'm also a very big proponent of the assertion that the unity of Nigeria is negotiable. That we have to sit down and talk. We have to sit down and talk as a country, as a people. Because right now in Nigeria, what has divided us is even more than what has united us. That's just the truth. And so when you begin to have that kind of friction, that kind of antithesis, then you need to talk. Because right now, I'm telling you that the Fulani man in Katsina sees the Fulani man from Niger, from Mali, more of his brother than a thief man from Benue, who are in the same country. That's the truth of what is obtainable right now. That Fulani man from Zaria appreciates the Fulani man from Mali more than the Igbo man from Ebonyi who lives in Zaria. So when you have such situations, you talk. You talk amongst yourself. Because, okay, right now in Nigeria, some people want Sharia as a law to regulate their life and everyday being. And some of us say, no, Nigeria is a secular nation. And then they say, no. They prefer the laws of their gods more than the ground norm of Nigeria. So when there's this clash, we need to talk. So that since you are insisting on your own, then have your republic. You can name it Republic of Arewastan, like Pakistan or Afghanistan, and then implement your Sharia the best you could. So that is the level, that is the point we have reached now, that we need to sit down and talk about this truth. Are we going to continue or not to continue? And for me, I feel that the frictions is becoming so intense. The friction is becoming so intense. The division has become so wide right now. All thanks to the Fulanis, especially the Islamists.
All right, thank you, Frank. Ndubisi, you're next.
Hello, Frank. Thank you for coming to the program.
Thank you so much, sir.
My heart is full of pain and so much tears and horror over all you've said. You are on ground. You have seen this thing yourself. It was like the day Pastor Dashamu came to the program as well, alongside his brother. These same things, it's so chilling. People who are hearing this, who have not seen it happen physically, will not know what your people are going through. And other parts of the country where these extremist Islamists have caused havoc. I want to still suggest that as we continue to make all the effort we are making internally to get the government to act, and other plans some people have relayed here, that international pressure is still very, very important. Because those people, they don't listen, except when a superior power puts that pressure on them.
Yes.
The visit of the Benue bishop in Benue and some of you to US, and the return visit of Riley Moore and others. I don't know whether Riley Moore has submitted this report to Trump and what Trump and his administration is thinking. I will urge you to open and express an urgent discussion with Riley Moore. Keep it open. Feed them with all that is going on, the fresh things that have kept happening, even after they came and saw what happened, what they saw at the camps and other places, so that they will begin to put. We are all human beings. No matter how busy the man in charge of America is, if some people who feel for the Christians and for even moderate Muslims who are being killed as well, if they keep pressuring him, at some point he will take incisive action, and also put pressure on the European Union. Get somebody, there will be somebody that will listen to you guys in the European Union as well, because the external pressure is one of the major things that we bend this government. This is our recalcitrant government that are playing politics with our lives all over. Besides, the military of Nigeria is compromised. I have no doubt about that. There should be a serious X-ray in that military to remove all those elements of these people. But it may not be possible now. But with the pressure from the international community, particularly from the man who has shown interest already, it will work. I urge people to relay these things to Riley Moore. Keep in touch with him. Whatever government wants to call it, maybe sabotage or what, that is their business. Because lives, the people that are still alive, and they need to remain alive. As we are speaking now, don't know which one will happen the next time. It's a very serious thing. Please keep in touch with Riley Moore now. And begin to put pressure on them as well, so that they can tell the man at the White House and his men to take action to save lives. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, NDBC. We are doing exactly what you've just said here. You've just asked us to do. We've been doing that. We are keeping in touch with many of these congressmen. We're putting so much pressure, and many of them are committed. They are being fed with the facts every day of what is happening. And, right now I work with Equipping the Persecuted. It's a non-profit here in the United States that has been focused on providing relief materials and gathering intelligence in Nigeria, especially through the media arm called Truth Nigeria. If you listen to many of these congressmen, they like making references to Truth Nigeria, that they got their source from Truth Nigeria. So I work with them right now. So we'll be gathering intelligence almost every day and feeding these people. And so I also want you to look up about our organization on our website, Equipping the Persecuted, and see what we've been doing and see the level to which you can also support. So that is what we're doing, because we're generating all these things almost every day and feeding the Congress and policymakers here, and even our contacts at the State Department in Washington, D.C.
All right. Thank you, Ndubisi. Frank, I don't know. I have two more people. They were not here when I said the people who were in the studio. So it's up to you. I know you have to go. It's over 20 minutes beyond the time you said. If you can take them together.
Yes. So if you can, it's 1:31, 1:23 here. That's Central Standard Time, Yeah. So if we can stop at 1:30 in the next 7 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Very good. So what I think will help is let them ask you questions, make their comment and questions. You can take it together, so it will be faster. So X0.
Yeah. Good evening, and good evening, Dr. Rudolph. Thank you for this wonderful guest. This is the kind of guest we really appreciate.
Thank you, bro.
Good evening from here, Mr. Frank. Yes, I followed some of your speeches in the US, and I followed you a bit. And I was really happy that you did what you did. You were very fluent and you were very concise with your point. Now, I wondered why. I wanted to know your opinion, anyways. What do you think about people like Nnamdi Kanu? That's one. And two, I wanted to know your opinion about the Christian Belt. I don't know if you noticed that your area of the country and the South have shared values of the Judeo-Christian values. I was wondering why there was no connection in the speeches made, because if you see what happened to you, it didn't just start today. It's centuries long planned, and it will not stop. And you have to understand the opportunity you have. There's an opening you have, which is Donald Trump, and he might not be there in the next 4 years. Who knows which party will come in and they will reverse everything you've done. I was wondering why there was no connection with what's happening in your area and what's happening in the Southeast. Southeast is now highly militarized, meaning that after dealing with you guys, the Southeast is next. And of course, we see what's happening in Southeast today, that they are unaliving a lot of people there, just like your people, I was expecting that there was going to be, that symbiosis, that nexus between the Southeast and your own zone, because your Southeast is 100% even Catholics, and then your zone is the same. You guys have a lot more in common. I thought this would have been a fine opportunity to ask for a two-state solution. That is what Trump and his ilks will gladly come in for you for. But like I said, it's just a question.
All right, thank you. And then let's hear from Paul, and then you can take the two together. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you, and good afternoon. So I have two questions for you. One of the questions, you make mention of the Fulani man in places like Zaria is well connected to a Fulani in places like Mauritania, far away Ghana, and the likes. And one thing that I know very well with the Fulani people, they don't know how to forgive. And not like it's bad, but that's just who they are. You understand? I think to some extent, I would say they believe like in the Moses law. If you touch me, I touch you back. But history also tells us that like places like Meduguri, for example, Usman Danfodo, when he's extending the Islam and everything, he was dead in places like Meduguri. You can even see when the Boko Haram came through Ali Modu Sharif and the likes, they still even punish people from Meduguri tremendously, because that's where Usman Danfodo got down, and they don't still believe. That's why they don't have emir in places like Meduguri. They still have the Shehu, you understand, of Meduguri and the likes. So they still want to punish them for that. That is one aspect. Then another thing again, like history tells us, we will talk about these three major ethnic groups. Even when Hausa and Fulani are not the same. There is Hausa as a tribe, there is Fulani. Me coming from places like Delta, there's difference between Urobo and Isoko. There is difference between Urobo and Ishekiri. No matter how people will want to think about it, but there is difference. Don't you think counting on the US so much to help you do those things, they may be fighting for their own interests. Before you know, sometime, they might also want to ask for a military base there and also find something under your ground again. Then they start harnessing again, creates the kind of problem like they also are in the Niger Delta, that they are not doing much. You understand? And therefore that thing. Don't you think it's time to also play those dirty politics? How can you play politics to even divide the Fulani from the Hausa? Keep reminding the Hausa, you've never been president in this country. The Fulani keep controlling you in terms of culture, in terms of politics and everything. Why don't you also try play this divide and conquer? Places like Luxembourg, their population is 600 million people, 600,000 people. They are a country. The thief people are over 2 million people. You understand? They still consider a state, less than a state, and everything. Why don't you play? Namibia is bigger than Nigeria in terms of landmarks. The population of Namibia is just 2.3 million, almost about the population of thief people. Why don't you think, bring this thing back home, play politics, fighting from the US or other places and everything? They might do a good fight today and tomorrow also betray you for their own interests and everything. So you can play both parts at the same time. These are my questions.
All right, thank you, Paul. Frank,
all right, so let me start from the last. The Hausas, if you've been following, if you've been observing, they're working up to their responsibility right now. They've been calling for that disengagement, with the Fulani, so that they will be Hausa on their own and they'll be the architect of their own destiny and their own future. So that is what I've been following that. I've been following that. There are a lot of associations I've been seeing, I've been added into some on even WhatsApp groups. And then I've been seeing a lot of them come out to make videos on TikTok, on YouTube, the households calling for that disengagement so that they'll be on their own, because I think they are the people who have been so enslaved, enslaved so terribly by the Fulanis, Fulani have taken over their cities, their towns, and their emirs there, they are the governors in all the households state, So it's quite unfortunate that the Fulani have given themselves that stigma that we now look at them. It's not a stereotype, but it's a statement of fact that this is what they've turned themselves into. And so person we talk about them like something of a stigma, sort of. It's quite unfortunate. I wish it wasn't like that. It never happened like that. But they created it for themselves. So we cannot say otherwise. That's the truth of the matter. So that is that. The houses are taking charge of that. And you rightly mentioned what happened in the Kanem-Borno Empire, that was the axis of Sokoto and Yobe today. Even though they had Islam long before the Fulanis came to Nigeria, they had Islam there. But those people still, because the Fulani, Islam is different, it's a radical one, So they still try to infiltrate that axis. And then they were taught by the Kanem-Borno people, just like what happened in my own side too, and the Plateau, the ethnic groups of Plateau. So that is that for that question you asked. And then I'll go to the guy who asked me about Nnamdi Kanu. I sympathize with Nnamdi Kanu. I sympathize with his plight, because you could see a gross injustice being perpetrated on a Nigerian, right, who just exhibited his right of calling for self-determination. Because look, a referendum is a right. If someone calls for a referendum, it's a right. You have to listen to him, because what gave rise to all this is injustices. So much travesty in the land. So I sympathize with the guy, because the guy has not done half of what the likes of Shekau Bello Turji have done. You see all those guys, the likes of Sheikh Gumi, but they are still walking free. So you could see that the injustice, I really love injustice. I hate injustice with the depth of my heart. And what is happening to the young man is a different color of injustice. So any reasonable, prudent heart, any emotional heart, will really sympathize with him. Because what has he done? Because he's a separatist, he said, look, you guys are making us feel like aliens in our own land, in our own supposed country. So we are feeling unwanted. So we need a place of ours. That's the long and short of the guy's cry. And then when you see the core northerners, especially the Fulanis, begin to talk about the guy, you begin to feel as if, wait, was this guy the cause of the Second World War? Was he Adolf Hitler? Because they talk about him with such intensity, with such hatred. And this is a guy who has not killed any Fulani man, any northerner. So for me, I really sympathize with the guy's plight. I wish the guy is off the hook. I wish he's off the hook, and I wish Nigeria sit down and listen to and I've watched several of his videos, and I've seen that young man was prophetic. In many of his videos, dating back to about 10 years, I've watched the guy predicted all these things that were happening. He was so prophetic. So I wish we sit down, we talk, we listen to him. We listen to their grievances too. So that's my position on that.
All right. Thank you so much. Before you go, I want you to take this question from someone sent it to me. It says, what role has the British played in support for or against the people of the Middle Belt? Have they intervened in any shape or form? So while you answer that, you can round up your thoughts. And if there's any way you want people to support the organization that you are part of in this struggle, you can let them know.
So, I mean, first of all, I think it is the British that has caused us this problem. The British, without consulting us in 1914, amalgamated all our separate colonies that constitute Nigeria today, the two different colonies. Because, look, the United States, why the country is working, and why they are together is for the fact that in 1787, they sat down. They sat down in Philadelphia. They said, look, we want to form this country, and we're adopting for ourselves these laws in this country, this constitution. And when they sat down in Philadelphia in 1787, they drafted that constitution, 4 pages. And 9 out of the then 13 states ratified it in 1789. And then they voted George Washington to be the first president in 1789. Now, that is how to form a country. You sat down, you agreed, and you gave yourself a law. Look at the United States Constitution, just 4 pages. Nigerian Constitution is over 300 and something pages, and they keep altering it every day. The United States Constitution has only 27 amendments. This amendment were just to add something that was not there, like Amendment 22, that provides for insertion of tenure of office of the president, which was not there until when Franklin Roosevelt was voted 4 times and lasted 12 years. So you could see a country that works. So we never had that kind of history in Nigeria. And that is why Awolowo himself, Obafemi Awolowo, described Nigeria as a mere geographical expression, which is the truth. So we are not a nation. We are rather a state. A nation is different from a state. We are not really in the true sense of the word nation. We are not a nation. So we need to talk. So British was the mastermind of this mistake by never consulting us, by just putting us together with these guys. And instead of us to accept that diversity, to accept that fate that's falling on us, these guys are creating the reasons why we have to talk. And so, again, the British never really, because in the Wilkins Commission of 1953, Middle Belt was created in by that commission. We are Middle Belt, we are not North Central. But the British never paid attention to it. They put up that commission, the commission that brought up all these our representatives, and they created that the Middle Belt by the Wilkinson Commission of 1953. But the British never stood on it, and they left us like that. And these guys, because they were in charge of Nigerian politics, they just created a place called North Central. I've never, geographically speaking, I don't know if geography has anything like the North Central. I know that geography will have north, it will have northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest. You know, core north will be like north, core north, like the way we have south side, core south. But there's nothing like north in central. It doesn't make sense. We are Middle Belt. And right now, the awakening is so high. A lot of people are calling themselves Middle Beltans and not North Central Nigerians. We're not North. And if you look at the geography of Nigeria, as a matter of fact, if you want to divide Nigeria to North and South, Benue is in the South. If you look at the geography, Benue is in the South. If you want to divide Nigeria by half from its current map, the Benue will fall down. So we are Middle Belt. We're in the Middle Belt of Nigeria. So that is a mistake. And so far, for what is happening to us, the British have done nothing. They caused the problem. And they have not rendered support. They have not done anything. You see, unlike the Americans who weren't our colonizers, the Americans are vehement in involvement in what is happening. But the British have not done anything like that. So the British is part of our problem too, unfortunately.
So your final thoughts and your organization, how people who might want to be part of it or support it, how they could.
Yeah, so our organization is like the strongest non-profit from the US here who have been involved in these things in Nigeria, these killings of Christians in Nigeria, most especially in North Central, equipping the persecuted. So you can check equippingthepersecuted.org. And if you have anything to contribute, you can contribute, because we're carrying out the rebuilding of many of these destroyed Christian villages, providing relief materials, and most importantly, providing intel, all our intel, of like the killing, the abduction Kajuru recently, we provided the intel. The killing in my community in Yerwata, we provided the intel 1 week before it happened. 1 week that they are going to Yerwata, the intel was there. It is still there that they are carrying our attack in Yerwata. So we have people on ground in all these communities, digging out this part, digging out this intel and sending, you know. So you can check equippingthepersecuted.org and if you have any contribution to make, we really appreciate it, because that is how the association is run, by your support. And then our media arm is called Truth Nigeria. You can always check it for more information about these killings in Nigeria. Almost every day, you can get the necessary fact that you want to get. It's on Truth Nigeria.
All right. Thank you so much, Frank, for coming, and we wish you all the best. We are going to take a break. When we come back, the people in the studio will do a review of what happened. But thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Can I take my leave, right?
All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate all of you. Those on the comment section, those at home, thank you. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Frank on the genocide going on in Nigeria. For tomorrow's 90 Minutes Africa, we are going to have Professor Chidon Kalu will join us for 3 hours. So if you have the chance and you can be part of it, we'll welcome you tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. New York time, 6:30 p.m. in Nigeria. All right, we have about 17 minutes left. So we try to use it to do a recap or preview of what you had. I know that there was somebody who, I think it's Chisco or somebody, he was driving. That was why we didn't bring you in. So part of our rule here is that we don't bring you in when you are driving. So just so you know. All right, let me get first. Maybe I'll hear from KJ. KJ was the one that facilitated this guest. So it's very important that I mention that, because sometimes people tell me they wanted somebody to be our guest. If you do a little, reach out, it will help to make it possible. So KJ, thank you so much for doing the networking involved in this, bringing this guest. So I'll let you have your say before we get to other people. But we have, just bear in mind, we have just 17 minutes. The traditional have your say 247 will be on after this, and I believe that forefathers will be host. Okay, go ahead, KJ.
Okay, thank you again, Rudolph. Not necessary to say, let me facilitate that. Okay, Frank is someone I've known for a while, and or I've known. We all grew up in the same area, but we never really got to be friends, you know. So till you know, sometime that I started seeing him here, and I reached out. Now, but he has laid out. He is a participant. He has relatives, friends who have taken part or who are no longer here with us today because of these activities we are talking about here.
KJ, we can't hear you anymore.
Okay, sorry. Sometimes when we come here to talk about it, it looks as if we're just crying wolf, wolf when there's no wolf. But today we have seen and heard from someone who is taking part in it. You know, 2 days ago, the story of the Oluwa lady that I talked about here some time ago, who was you know, executed, you know, by her students in Gombe, was republished again. You know, for those who, when we come here to say certain things, they, you know, this was 2007. So this thing had been going on, and I'm glad that he was able to mention it and even put this to them. This thing had been going on for long. The government played down on it. They didn't want it to be, you know, to be heard. Even now, as we speak, the media in Nigeria have been given a new order not to, you know, not to report on this thing. So it's still going on at a massive scale, but nobody talking about it. So this when people like that speak, they bring you to the picture because they have taken part in those things and they've seen it happen live. Their relatives and friends have been involved. And so today, again, is another of those days that we are able to listen to somebody who have been part of and parcel of that. And I'll say this finally. There is a passage of land between Kuje, if you know Abuja very well. That passage of land is it comes from Abuja all the way to Sambisa Forest. Okay, that passage of land goes from there all the way to Sambisa Forest. If you know Abuja very well, if you know where the Abuja Broadcasting Service by the that hill, what's the name now? ASO Radio. Now, by that hill, that bush there, you can actually take that bush and walk through the bush all the way to Sambisa. In fact, it can take you even to Cameroon. The question the security agencies have asked, and those who have written reports on that, is why does government allow such a thing to exist? It's like a forest. You jump into it, it will just keep taking you. You cross road here and there. Just once or twice you cross the road, and you enter that one in Kuje, you know, just by the prisons. It will take you all the way, Nasarawa, all the way through the bush, all till you get to those places. These are the hideouts that these individuals use to go and attack these communities. When they finish, they get back into the bush and they walk all the way to wherever they want to walk to. These things are known. Why government won't deal with it is beyond anybody's you know, guess. If you leave Nasarawa going to Benue, before you get to Yewata, where his village is, there's a big forest, a very big forest that is unmanned. That's the continuation of that same forest I'm talking about. People know that people disappear there and things happen there, but nobody is doing anything about it. So the question is, it is time for us to wake up, just like the last the question they asked. It's time for us to get up and decide whether we want to be a nation or just want to keep playing this thing. You know, this nonsense we are playing, because nobody's going to come and save us. Thank you so much, Rudolph.
All right, thank you, KJ. Let's hear from CM. He wasn't part of the conversation, and we will go to you first. CM, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much, Rudolph. Am I coming out clear, I suppose?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Good evening to all of you on the panel, those listening and those on the chat, wherever they may be. Actually, I'm glad that this, when I saw the name, when it was sort of advertised that he will be here. I was quite happy. In fact, I tried all I could to be here, but this is me now. So I didn't meet up quite very well because I have a personal issue to clear. Not really personal, but I consider it a personal issue so that he can be able to debunk the lie. For those that may not know, recently there was a publication in New York Times that the Christmas bombing in Nigeria was based on the conjecture or unverified data sent to the government of United States of America that made Trump to bomb Sokoto. And the chap at the center of it all is from my hometown, Emeka Balase. He is a criminologist, well trained with a master's degree, but in the opinion of New York Times, he's a screwdriver seller, maybe an illiterate trader at Onisha. So that sort of fed into the propaganda of Nigeria and those that are always, in Nigeria, whatever problem that exists in Nigeria, they may keep quiet until the moment they mention Igbo, everything becomes na Igbo man. So I wanted him to sort of give us just let me know his opinion, given the fact that the fact-finding team sent by Donald Trump to Nigeria visited Benue State. They visited the Tortive and the Catholic mission there, and there are a lot of other places, even including the refugee camp. And they based their evidence of Christian genocide not on the opinion of the screwdriver seller, but on incontrovertible evidence that is well nuanced. So I wanted him to sort of, being he's non-Igbo, to come and disabuse the mind of people who always feel that anything in Nigeria, if you do not link Igbo man to it, you haven't started. Take, for instance, some weeks ago, we heard that there was an attempted coup against the government of Alhaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The names, the 16 names, none of them resembles that of Nnamdi Kanu, IPOB, or Igbo. So the press, the media played it down. 2 or 3 days ago, we now heard that an Igbo Nollywood actor based in Enugu is linked to the coup. Then everybody started, they come and go to social media and see the headline. This is a Nollywood actor who only uses pen and paper. But yet, the generals that did the coup, because they are from the favored side, you see, that's why I'm quite happy that this guy came, but I do not know what he made of, whether he discussed the New York Times publication. So, Rudolph, for what it is worth, I will also plead, maybe you get back to him. He will be a regular visitor here, maybe once a month, if we can. We must accommodate him, given the fact that this Christian genocide will tear Nigeria apart, because that is the agenda of United States. Nigeria must be dismembered, albeit by an American. Now, let me end on this and pose this question to everybody. In 1914, a white man joined Nigerians together. And people say it is an act of God. That white man is Lord Lugard. In 2026, another white man called Donald Trump is attempting to separate Nigeria. Why can't people call it that? Why don't people regard it as an act of God? Thank you.
All right, thank you, CM. If you go back to watch it, he discussed the article, the New York Times story, and everything else around the perception that Biafrans were the people pushing the agenda for the world to see what's happening in Nigeria as a Christian genocide. So he talked about those things. So you can go back and watch my interview with him. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have about 7 minutes left, so I will quickly go down anywhere I stop and we just end it so that the new show, the normal show, which you can have opportunity to discuss the coup and everything else that has been going on, will start after this. Mr. James, you're next.
Yeah, just a few days ago, I had the opportunity to watch a film somewhere in Banjul about the Tamil tigers in Sri Lanka. The horrors they went through, 70,000 of them died before they got what they were looking for. This problem we are grappling with is a monumental problem. The end is not in sight at all. Take it or leave it. I cannot understand what is running through the mind of Bola Tinubu. But I believe that the country, for now, is no longer in existence. That is my belief. So now is the time for leaders of thought in all the major ethnic groups to meet behind the scene, to work out the modalities of how the people will be governed when it is officially recognized or acknowledged that the Federal Republic of Nigeria is no longer in existence. So that is all I have to say.
All right.
The people are looking up to their leaders of thought because we don't have a federal government anymore. If the king in my area asks me to do something right now, and the federal government is telling me to do the contrary, I will certainly obey my king before listening to the federal government. That is the situation all over the country right now. Nigeria is a tribal society. Nobody can tell me that he loves Nigeria more than his tribe, not Nigeria of today. So anyway, thank you all very much for the time we've had together. I have to sign out. Sorry to be back here in the Gambia.
All right, thank you, Mr. James. Before I come to you, Tony, let me, my producers are telling me to share this with you guys. We are coming to another year of renewing our subscription to StreamYard, which is where we come here every Saturday and Sunday and other days. And for this year, our subscription, I can see from here, let me see. Our subscription cost is $641.88. That's the cost of our 1 year subscription to this channel, this medium that we use to bring you this show. So, you know, for us to continue to do what we do, this is outside what we pay for other subscriptions and paying staff. If you can support us, how much, any amount you can, you know, it will help us to be able to continue to do this without it being stressful on the people behind. And we appreciate all those who have continued to keep us on air. So please, I've been told to share this and let you guys know. We have until the 13th of February, I believe, to take care of it. All right, thank you so much. Let's go to Tony. Tony, you're next.
Yeah, Nigeria has submitted its sovereignty to America. So, and I think that the only one who can resolve this problem of insurgency in Nigeria is Trump. There's no doubt in my mind, because even the Senate president said it, that Trump is on their neck. The fear of Trump in Nigeria is the beginning of wisdom. I think he shouldn't waste time to resolve this problem. I know he has other issues that are bothering him. But I think that he has the capacity to resolve this problem, and he should do it fast. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Kene, we have about 3 more minutes. What's your take?
Yeah, what else can I say?
I can't hear you, Kene. We can't hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, but can you hear me now? Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I say, what else can I add other than to reaffirm what others are saying? You know, prior to 2023, it was all about, oh, if you elect Donald Trump, oh, the world is coming to an end, America is going to war and all that, right? But it warms my heart that today everybody is singing praises for Donald Trump, calling on Donald Trump to come and salvage Nigeria, to come and salvage the nation. You know, it's a thing of joy to see that our people have waken up to the reality that it is only Trump that is going to bring solution to the Nigeria's insecurity problem. Now, that aside, you see, I've always said this, and a lot of people do misunderstand me because I'm not trying to be politically correct, and I will never be politically correct. I will always stand for the truth and facts only. we had a brother here today reaffirming to what I've been saying, that these people are of no good. You don't give them chance. And it's just to call it what it is. That religion, Islam, is a problem. I don't think what anybody thinks about that. If you think I'm lying or I don't know what I'm saying, please, you can come forward here and debunk, kind of challenge me. Islam is not a religion that you give, that you accept in any, except if you want to be a slave. We have a country called Saudi Arabia. There is no single church in Saudi Arabia, and the media is silent. Saudi Arabians are not Christamophobia, But if it is US or any other country that is trying to kick against Sharia law, oh, Islamophobia, oh, you are a bigot, Islamophobia. No, until you start calling Saudi Arabians and other Arab countries Christamophobia, if there is any language like that, somebody like me will never stop until to call them out. Islam is not something that we should accept in any way, except if you want to live like a zombie. But the Nigeria's problem as we have it today is about Islamization, and we all must join hands together to condemn it. We all must join hands together to even start by kicking against Sharia law. Look at UK. I thought they are smart. UK today is kicking against Sharia law. US, Texas did wonders, kick them out completely. So in Nigeria, we should begin to call them out. We shouldn't have anything called Sharia law. In the army court of whatever, what do David call it? Their emblem, where you see they wrote those nonsense stuff with Arabic language. I don't know what they wrote there. They shouldn't be there. Nigeria should be a secular country, right? So why is it that a particular religion is trying to dominate everything? You see, I traveled to Nigeria, Rudolph. I don't know if you will give me the chance to my experience in Nigeria.
Not today. Maybe next Saturday. Just next Saturday will be a normal show. I'll give you the chance.
No problem. Right. But it is what it is. We shouldn't fold our hands and allow these people to consume us, because sometimes I think about the future. I think about tomorrow. What if I'm gone? What about my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren? What will be their fate? Converting us to Islamic country just the way they did to Jordan, to even the Mecca and all those Saudi, the Turkey that we have today. They were all Christian countries, but today they are Muslim countries. And it's really saddening that we try to be politically correct in everything. See, well, I will not be the only one to lose anyway, but we better wake up, all of us.
All right. Thank you, Kene. And finally, Ernest, you are the final person before we round up. Go ahead, Ernest.
Okay. My advice is, I don't know whether he can hear me, the Middle Belt group, they should come together and demand for self-determination. That's the only way out. I don't know where he said they are waiting if a negotiation did not work. Negotiation will never work. Nigeria government can never help them. If America did not come, they're on their own. Their best chance is now. Just come out. Both the international community will hear them, demand for self-determination. Then they should partner with IPOB in Southeast. So Nigeria don't cast. Nobody talk about Nigeria again. That's my own advice to them.
All right. Thank you, Ernest, and thank you everybody who joined me today for this special edition of Have Your Say 247. Tomorrow on 90 Minutes Africa, we're going to have Professor Chidi Odinkalo. If you can join us at 12:30 p.m. New York time or 6:30 p.m. Nigerian time, we will appreciate that. Let me thank those that supported us today. I want to thank George Blueshell for your support. Oscar Blackstone, thank you so much. Santario, thank you so much for your support. Again, I appreciate all of you, and I hope you will join the next program, which is Have Your Say 247, the original version of it. It's starting immediately. Those who watched at home, thank you so much. I appreciate all of you. And the comments, I received them, and I appreciate all of you. On behalf of my production team, my executive director, and the people behind the scene who are feeding me with information and ideas, I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much, Kenneth, for being here. Miss.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. James, thank you so much. AJ, thank you for your help in making this show possible. We appreciate you. CM, thank you so much. All right. I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you, and have a wonderful rest of Saturday. Take care.
Tó fẹ́ kú torí ẹ̀ o. Ọwọ́ ẹni ló ti ṣàánú kọ́. Ayé la fi sílẹ̀ sí. Lọ́nà èyí yóò.
Thank you so much for watching. Thank you. Have you subscribed? Yes, you. Have you subscribed? You. Yeah, before you go, click. It's free. Click. Just that's it. Have you subscribed? You are laughing. Have you subscribed? Have you subscribed? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, madam. Thank you so much. I can see you. I can see you. We have to get to 100,000 subscribers. By the end of the year, how are we going to do that if you don't subscribe? Yes, you. Yes, you're about to click off. Why? Have you subscribed? It's free. If you don't, ask your son, ask your daughter how to. Just one click. Thank you. Thank you. I see you. Aha. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow.
Okudilio, nyekelanio, chukuna malugo yo biadio cha. Agaranya chogo kowe bili, agaranya chogo kowe rienio. Owe chuku bezie chuku. Nuche chukwa busigi fegemeo, nuche chukwa busia ifegemeo. Ni fosolo ne asi alibazie. Oboye bebe agaranya muliba, oboye wuru agaranya mebibe solea, mano agaranya wa, oboye afiozi elipakwa. Agaranya chogo kowe bili, agaranya chogo kowe rienyo. Oboye chikubezi olisa. Kodili ma, kodili bemo, kodili wakema, kodili wanima. Naino kwane we beluge beluo. Kodili ma, kodili bemo, kodili kemo, kodili heyo. Ibedwe me wanem, nikadiezi bohimo.